Welcome back to the SMITE Circuit Playoffs here for North America. We're done with our first half of the day, and now we move into our second part. 2 more sets to go here on Saturday. It's J-Mac and Mifflin on the desk to join me here as we get ready to jump into the Xibalba Storm and the Aaru Scorpions to face off in our now newly formed Group C. And from this group, these are the teams that are now going to be fighting for those last 2 spots to go to that SWBC group stage. You took the top 2 from Group A, top 2 from Group B. Now we've sandwiched them together to make one final bracket here, Mifflin.
Man, my heart goes out to the Scorpions, man. That's a lot of SMITE. That's a lot of SMITE they just played and are probably going to have to play again.
Yeah, I mean, 3-game set for the Aaru Scorpions. That's in their victory here. I believe it's also a 3-game set for Xibalba Storm yesterday to get them up to this point, qualify over the Valhalla Valkyries, and then the Valks falling down. Which, looking at these teams here, the top 2 teams from North America are gone. The Weavers, the Valkyries, the teams that were spearheaded way above everybody else in their division in the regular phase of play, they're both out of this one. It is the 3rd through 6th seed SCC teams, SOC, both out as well. We'll have the Callan Wardens and the Athenian Sages a little bit later on as well. We will be starting off, like I said, with Xibalba Storm and Aaru Scorpions for our 3rd match of the day, and the first one here in Group C. Bracket looks the exact same as previous 2. That's because it's just going to be the same way, double elimination through. Top 2 teams will make it there and join the EU SCC as your 4 amateur team counterparts to then combat against the SPL teams a little bit later on for that chance to go to the world stage.
And it is worth noting that the vast majority of previous SPL players in these rosters are now no longer in the tournament as well. This is all basically just new talent. Some of these guys have, mingled with the SPL, subbed in once in a while, but haven't exactly had that same level of tenure as you would associate with guys like Aquarius or Sanford Soccer. Now it's all this new talent, all this hungry talent fighting up for a little bit more of an opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of these top-ranked players, guys who have been right at either the SOC or kind of just been mingling in the SCC for a little bit. Now to round out these 2 rosters, Xibalba Storm on your left, Aaru Scorpions on the right. We just got to see those guys. So to refresh for the Xibalba Storm, Tegveer, Ratmilk, GIobe, Hapn, and Shiπigami to round out their roster. And really, if I'm not mistaken, looking at all 10 of these players, the only one who's had any kind of mingling in SPL has been GuyJ for a short stint over in the duo lane, but wasn't a very long run through, subbed in for a little bit of time just to help out some of the teams at the time that he was able to jump there. So essentially a full SCC showdown here to see which of these 2 teams will be the first one up in the upper bracket. Again, Aaru Scorpions, RelentlessOne, migiiiiii, Bayroneri, NotGeno, and GuyJ for those squads. And really got to give credit to Xibalba Storm, especially in their previous matchup, taking down the #1 seed of the Valhalla Valkyries. And it wasn't like they were long, drawn-out 40, 50-minute battles. The longest game of that set was like 29 minutes, and that was a Xibalba Storm win. It was Xibalba Storm kind of close, wins in like low 20 minutes. Valhalla Valkyries have a really dominant game #2, and then Xibalba Storm able to just run away with the remainder of that set, finding their win, their way to qualify up here. And now what we just saw from the Scorpions, knocking down the Tyrian Weavers, the #2 seed. So both these teams trying to knock out some of the upper seeds, seeing who could be that first one up in the upper bracket as we jump into picks and bans for Game 1 between the Scorpion and the Storm. And I will say one thing that I wasn't particularly expecting to see kind of rise up here in the North American meta, Thanatos jungle has been so prevalent for some of these junglers, man.
It feels like in North America and at the SEC as a whole, you're allowed a little bit more individual play. We see individuals making these massive game-changing plays on their own, and Thanatos plays that style very, very well. That's not to say that Thanatos can't exist when there's a higher level of team play. We've seen them sprinkled into the SPL, but certainly when teams are scattered, Thanatos absolutely dominates. You catch people low HP, Scent of Death allows you to chase them down, able to resustain off of every single one of your kills, so he's allowed to stay out on field for a very long time. No surprise to me that a guy with that much damage and that much going for him has been in the meta.
I think similar to Thanatos with semi-global pressure, we've been seeing a lot of things like this Thor. Ratatosker has also made his way towards a lot of these teams as well. Speaking of, it will be Thor and Kukulkan on the side of the Xibalba Storm, and then the Opwash over for the Aaru Scorpions. But one god that keeps making his way through these rosters, one god that is still giving a lot of teams trouble. You can see so far, 3 games played, 100% win rate on him. Khepri for the Aaru Scorpions. Now into the Xibalba Storm to see if they've got the answer to try and deal with this Khepri.
Man, that is a scary top 3 for the Scorpions, man. Opwash, Khepri, Chernobog, all of those have been fought over in the first pick position, right? So now having a little bit of survivability, massive control of space from Opwash, Chernobog, and how he adjusts, how you have to address that late game with that split push potential, as well as just being one of the better hunters because of how strong his stim is. Very, very scary top 3 for the Scorpions. Answers to the Khepri already drafted, though, for the Storm. Get a little bit of an execute from this Achilles. It'll help out, but we've seen that it's not exactly guaranteed to land it. If the Khepri's playing real heads up, can block out that fatal strike himself, or even just take fights when Achilles isn't around.
I've been kind of wondering where the Khepri has been. I mean, we're seeing a lot of Thanatos. Maybe the Thanatos was the deterrent for the Khepri players, but people are still out here playing Khepri anyway, so maybe that's not it. So maybe it will be this Achilles. And Anhur Sobek, the dual lane draft for the Storm in the bottom two, and then it's Susano and Agni for the Aaru Scorpions. I guess my question to you is, given the way that the solo lane meta has developed for the mages, and knowing that this is going to be Achilles kind of jumping over to that solo lane, would you rather see the Opwash or the Agni over there up against him?
It's probably just the Opwash, right? Let's not get too crazy. I think having Opwash over in the side lane gives him a little bit more safety. Lacking mobility, Agni can kind of hold his own in mid a little bit more so. If you're playing into that sustain from Achilles, having Opwash there as well, pretty decent. The only concern I would have is that we've seen in North America a very high emphasis on the solo lane, a very high willingness from the junglers to camp that lane. Opwash can struggle in that scenario.
Well, let's see who can take the lead in game number one. We throw it over to the Aaru Scorpions and Xibalba Storm. Let's jump right into our first game.
Thank you very much, J-Mac and Mifflin over on the desk. Supersonic Blur here, joined by the spookiest of the Marses to go ahead and break this one down. Spooky, we just got finished watching the Aaru Scorpions battle tooth and nail and hair follicle and whatever else they could pull out to get their win here. And now they've got to do it all over again against the Xibalba Storm here. And looking at the comps that they've drafted, I mean, we just saw how impressive Khepri can be. Now you've got the Agni again, you've got the Opwash you've got to fight into. That's going to be a difficult task to master.
Yeah, I'm not surprised whatsoever by this draft that they've pulled out here. I mean, you've just seen Bayroneri play this Opwash to a great performance. No surprise to see it back in the mid lane, RelentlessOne back on this Agni. And what I'm looking at is Scorpions have a really good draft. If it already worked in a high pressure environment once, go ahead, run it back. They pretty much took as much as they possibly could grab from that draft, stuck it all back onto the team, and said, hey guys, let's just do our thing again, play the same way, and we will have results. Small skirmishing over in the dual lane.
Just a bit of one. Shipigami went in aggressively looking for the level 2 hair, and I imagine that Xibalba Storm, that's kind of what they got to play around. I mean, Ratmilk on Thor. This is the one that Mifflin was like, if Ratmilk is on Thor, we're all just living in his world. So it sounds like he's got a lot to live up to here. What's the game plan?
It's pretty much just try to facilitate Ratmilk right now. I mean, you take a look across the board, he's got plenty of options on where he can go. Obviously, the solo lane is a little dicey with it being an Agni. The mage solos, notoriously safe, play very far back. But with Tegveer on this Achilles, Ratmilk on Thor, they have lockdown potential. They have kill potential early on. There's also the option of this dual lane. It's been a very big talking point for most of these teams. Shield buff, very important. With plucks like this coming out from Hapn, you've got some juice.
Oh, that was a hell of a shot coming through from Shippigami, but they're forced to beads. And unfortunately, just overlapping of knockups. You can't knock up someone twice when they're already in the air, but Gino put down to, well, that must have been 100 HP. I think they're lucky stars there on the Khepri with the fortitude, or else they might have been in trouble. But like you said, there's a lot that Ratmilk can go for. We saw a little bit of an attempt over towards the solo side. Hapn has been the one who's making it happening. Every single one of these plucks has found a home. And you can't do that. Sobek looks OP when you hit every pluck. As now over on the solo side again, an invade was attempted. Migiiiiii and RelentlessOne both caught by the stun from Ratmilk. They're gonna get chased all the way back. Beads do not keep you alive there, RelentlessOne. Ratmilk takes first blood.
Yeah, we were looking for the damage reduction beads, which unfortunately do not exist in the current game state. Maybe he has some knowledge about an upcoming patch that we don't. He is going to take a fall on that one. Meanwhile, it's aggression across the board here, Blur. Xibalba Storm is looking for any opportunity that they can create here. Successful invade on that purple buff. And really it comes down to Hapn on this dual lane. He's creating so much pressure on the sheer fact that he just doesn't miss the plucks. And, you know, maybe the Scorpions could step into him a little bit less, but that just wouldn't be as exciting as being hurled through the air at what feels like 50 miles an hour sometimes. Storm's off to a very strong start. And I think the most important factor in all this is that Ratmilk is the one credited with the first blood over on that right side. Burns out a big relic there, gets the first blood bounty, secures the blue buff for his solo laner. Right now, this game is most certainly trending the way of Xibalba Storm, and that shows in the graphs already. They got themselves about 1,000 gold lead 4 minutes into the game. It's not a lot of gold, but it is a lot more than I'd like to see this early.
It is. And this has been sort of the Xibalba Storm playbook here. It's Shinigami and Hapn just face press someone with whatever build Shinigami pulls out from Smite build or wherever the hell they're getting them from. And then they just run at it. It's been RC first item. Yeah, I mean, it's been RC first item because Shinigami doesn't care to stack. They want to start getting kills racked up. So the whole of Xibalba Storm's playbook is early hard aggression. And look at this, Ratmilk goes up because they're 5. They know RelentlessOne doesn't have beads. There's the wall, there's the double stun. But now it's up to Tegveer to dive under the tower for it. Return potentially Typhoon there. But Miggy's not really threatening much in a 2v1.
No, there's just no way he finds any value on that one. I respect the attempt. Maybe if Storm was a little bit slower on the pullback, he finds something. But the fact that RelentlessOne burned the beads, and on something that didn't even CC him, by the way, just means he's a free kill. Now Glow getting active on for this shield buff. Gino in a bad spot. Oh no, the first one!
Locked in! Ouch! They'll have to use their ult for themselves, but even so, Bayroneri is trying to empty the crypt, but it's just a crypt that Gino gets shoved in by Globe anyway. 3-0 to the Xibalba Storm, 5 minutes in. Welcome to NAC's what is it? Group C, that's the one. Flood that one, but welcome to Group C. We're starting it off with a bang. I'll get there eventually. Don't worry. It's been a long day for the casters here. I mean, what we've had like 2 sets that have gone.
This is your first game. This is your first task player. It has not been that long of a day for us yet. We're 6 minutes into the first one. Get a load of this non-binary individual. So let's pull it back to the game itself here. 3-0. Storm is leading right now. No surprise there. Their early aggression they've drafted has certainly been paying off for them, and they're playing very effectively around it. It feels like the Scorpions dual lane is just kind of being baited into these small exchanges with Shinigami and Hapn. And by baited, I mean they're just not respecting Hapn's ability to land these plucks consistently and toss them way far back. And Globe on this Kukulkan can just take perfect advantage of how long that Scare's Blessing takes to go off. We already saw it in execution once. He simply drops tornadoes on wherever that respawn point is and says, okay, yeah, did you want to come back at full health? Not going to happen. You're going to be respawning into damage and probably just dying again. This was on a tank early game. Those tornadoes, if placed on a squishy late game, is absolutely going to render the Scare's Blessing completely useless. So Scorpions now to be very careful about not just their positioning around Hapn, but also the positioning around wherever Globe may be, where those tornadoes could be dropping. And on top of that, you got Ratmilk who could jump out of anywhere. Storm has a lot of momentum right now. It's just a matter of carrying it forward. With this Aussie completed for Shinigami, you know these fights are going to keep on rolling through for him.
And that's the way it was. I asked Kaiser this last time we saw it, where
that was your first
you kind of almost... Okay, fair enough. I'll ask you the same question then. It's happened. Plucks back in Gino. Knocked up again, and it's just pelting damage into the backside of the bug. Now dancing around the pillar is GuyJ a little bit more. But the question is, we see a lot where these supports are sticking in this duo lane. Does that mean the mages are potentially in some more trouble? We'll ask that in a moment, as both junglers appear to be over towards the solo side.
Look, Blair, I'm just going to state that anytime you're playing Opwash against a Thor, you're in some amount of danger. Bayroneri, learning that the hard way, Hapn pulls the beads out from the Puch, but still potential rundown here.
It is. Whilst over the solo side, it's a 2v2 going on. Fights everywhere, and they're all with Xibalba Storm's name on it. Tegveer doesn't quite land the ultimate. Now we're going to see whether or not something comes through.
Oh!
Ends up getting a little bit too deep there. Bayroneri answers it back. Spirit of the 9 Winds did come through. Unfortunately, could not find enough damage. I believe it was just GuyJ who got hit by that from full health. So it does a lot of damage, don't get us wrong, but unfortunate GuyJ Living Nightmare. You get some mitigations there. That's such a good ultimate ability for an ADC, isn't it, Spooky?
Some could say an overpowered ability for an ADC, which is why he's been consistently eating nerfs for a while, but still sticking strong in that meta. Those mitigations are just so valuable. Without them, he's probably not quite as happy to take that trade. Without the mitigations, they're probably looking at being turned around on after that Spirit of the Nine Winds hits GuyJ full force. Unfortunately for the Storm, though, not able to capitalize on that. In addition to that, they also didn't get the kill on RelentlessOne over on the right side of the map. They tried splitting the map to find value somewhere, but this mage solo, man, he is just so good at staying alive. The amount of space he can put between himself and Tegveer means this Achilles has to work so hard to try to put damage onto this Agni. And the dashes and stuns that come through just really allow RelentlessOne to play ring around the rosy, essentially, with the map itself. And Storm are struggling to find an answer over there. I would like to see them maybe shift that focus away. They already got Tegveer a nice little lead. He's able to force RelentlessOne out of lane. This is where I like to see them putting this attention. Go to the Gulf here. You've got so much shred. You've got the secure potential. There it is.
And now, where does Thor end up landing? Instead, they will just be looking in on Bayroneri. This is what you wanted to see whenever you're playing an upwash mid against a Thor. They've got to be in trouble. Hapn gets pulled back in by NotGeno, but there's no real follow-up here. Shiπigami gets rooted, but not booted back to base, fortunately. With that gold lead now in hand, taking a quick look over the graphs, about 3k gold lead. And you mentioned Xibalba Storm have had, well, 2.5, close enough. Rounded up.
Always.
The Xibalba Storm have had some issues with being able to take down RelentlessOne. Does that mean that RelentlessOne is the crux for Aaru Scorpions? As we see again, the invade attempted, but RelentlessOne slippery enough to grab the buff and get away with it.
I think this Agni solo, oh my gosh, GIobe has to get out of there. Might still be in some trouble. Tries to turn the damage around. He just needs to hit one explosion. He's not going to land it. GIobe should be able to fly on out of here. He's just fine. So back to your question about RelentlessOne. I'm not sure that I would call him the crux, but he is a major component of the Scorpions' late game fight potential. I mean, we just saw it in the last game, right? RelentlessOne's ability to stand back and just drop damage and CC over walls and be a disruptive force in these fights is phenomenal. It makes it very hard for the Storm to find a footing against the Scorpions. However, Tegveer and Ratmilk are both playing gods that are very good at diving into the backline. You add on to that, Hapn can also close that distance easily, and even Shiπigami on this Anhur doesn't mind jumping forward and getting aggressive. It's all just a matter of how good of an engagement can Ratmilk find, and who will Hapn just pluck into danger, because you know he's not missing. I think we've seen 2 whips this entire game, and come on, man!
It's all for the Beacon Boogie right now. Geno eating the brunt of the force. Will be forced away in this 3v3, but it's not a 3v3, it's a 4v4. As Execute comes through from Tegveer. Bayroneri answers onto Hapn, gets themselves a double kill. These crypts are doing a lot more damage than I think anyone wanted. GIobe is also putting out some good work.
Nice.
GIobe gets themselves a double kill. Bayroneri punted on into the wall with the whirlwind coming through as well. RelentlessOne is here, but they're the last one standing. It's a triple and a double, leaving this a full house. Xibalba Storm. All of that for a single beacon.
2 for 5. I think we take any day of the week. And that looks so weird at the start for Xibalba Storm, right? So they start up the fight. They drop the Spirit of the Nine Winds very early. Doesn't connect with Geno. Instead, Tegveer is the one who has to execute him under that tower. And by doing so, they really felt like they committed way too far. I was a 2 for 0 at the very start in favor of the Scorpions. Unfortunately for the Scorpions, Xibalba Storm just has a whole backline that can step forward and say, well, now that all your abilities are on cooldown, let me show you what damage we can do. Simply put, Ratmilk drops down, stuns a few, pulls out more sets of beads, and turns that fight completely around. They get the full deicide, they grab the beacon for themselves. While it's still too early for the Pyromancer to be in contention, you look at the lead, you can see Storm is trending towards a 5,000 lead right now. It's only a matter of time before they go for that Pyro. In fact, they're around it as it begins to spawn in here.
Look at that, perfectly timed for it. They've got GIobe, they've got Ratmilk here. Xibalba Storm are putting their name across the entire map, and there's nothing that Aaru Scorpions can punish on it. As the Fury has spawned, they'll be around for it. But look at this, everyone on Xibalba Storm has recognized that this is here. Shi'igami the first one in. But look at that, Aaru Scorpions respect it so much they drop off of it. Serpent on the 9 wins is used as Ratmilk goes around the back. They find Bayroneri. But Xibalba Storm don't overcommit. They weren't there for the fight. They were there to get Aaru off, and that's what they did.
I respect that decision from Ratmilk. Drop the wall, see if anything gets used from Bayroneri, whether it be the beads from the Opwash or the Scare's Blessing from Geno. Patience on both ends, recognizes he doesn't have any potential to go in there. Spirit of the 9 Winds already being down meant there wasn't any secure if they tried to go for a fight. They play it safe, back off, and just pretty much keep the lead where it's at for themselves. Storm doing a phenomenal job right now of playing the map and really denying the Scorpions any entrance points to fight back into this deficit that they've fallen into so far. As we take a break from that Fury, you can tell Storm is still keeping an eye on it. You see everyone kind of shifting to that side of the map. It's an Oni Fury, so that's a lot of pressure to be put on the map. And the fact that Hapn does currently have a Runic Bomb, they've got a lot of options to play around with. They can either look to secure the Oni Fury and then use that Runic Bomb with the Oni minions to try to pressure some of these tier 1s down. We can simply hold on to this Runic Bomb like we have seen a lot of teams do and start to stockpile them for the late game. Instead,
look at this.
Looking for a fight happen.
Oh, but they got Miggy in an awkward spot.
No.
The wall cuts them off. They'll get the ultimate through. The Scarab's Blessing will keep them alive. But Ratmilk punches back. He follows it through and gets away with it. GIobe kills him once. Ratmilk kills him twice. And now the world is their oyster as they head back towards the Oni Fury. All that pressure will be in the palm of their hands. The Xibalba Storm show no signs of slowing down. They are dismantling the Aaru Scorpions at every opportunity.
Now, the Storm have brought their A game here this week. Bear in mind, this is the team that took out the Valhalla Valkyries, pretty much one of the top seeds. I think they were number 2, the NA scene. They are not here to play games. They're here to win. They are putting on a masterclass of it right now. Tegveer takes the Aegis off of RelentlessOne. The aggression started at pretty much minute 1 and has not let up for even a second. Storm is poised to start looking towards the Fire Giant. We're still early on, only 17 minutes into the game. But when you have a lead like this, you're pushing towards the 7,000 mark, you can start grouping up. You can start forcing things from the Scorpions. If they try to answer you around that Fire Giant, okay, just go for a fight. You don't actually have to try to take the Fire Giant. You just have to kind of, as GuyJ would say, throw a brick through the window and see what the response is.
I thought quoting GuyJ was a bad idea, because when I did it, you were like, oh, that's a mistake.
Is a bad idea.
Ah, but what if I asked him a question and that was his response?
Well, then he's just a silly man, isn't he?
Ah, gotcha. But when you say it, it's fine.
Yeah, when I say it, it's totally fine. We have double standards here.
Fair enough. As we come in towards the 18-minute mark, 90% kill participation for Ratmilk here, as like they said, they're very hesitant to pull the Fire Giant super early, but they're just going to start setting up, seeing what they can do. It's not a break through the window, more just a tap on the glass, casing the joint, as it were. And if they could get any more pressure onto RelentlessOne, then it could be a big look for them, because Thor's up. Everyone knows Ratmilk still putting out pressure, beads forced, and now there's no relics on RelentlessOne. That's a huge look for them. They'll go ahead and take down this tier 1 tower. And GuyJ has made the rotation through with the Living Nightmare, but it is just a 5v5. Big Typhoon rips through multiple members. Ratmilk answers back. Serpent of the 9 Wind goes past the windows of everyone on Aaru Scorpions. They are deterred from it. Instead, they keep their focus. Aaru Scorpions We've been talking up the Xibalba Storm a lot, but Aaru Scorpions are still in this game. It's 6k down, but they aren't playing like they're out of hope yet.
Now, the Scorpions have done a great job of pulling Ratmilk out of position there. They bait him in. He just goes a little bit too far for RelentlessOne. Storm not able to get that Pyromancer away from the Scorpions. Desert Fury not going to confirm it. So now we're in a situation where the Scorpions are down 4 relics. The rest of them are available. RelentlessOne, no safety other than his dash. The beacon being on board, Storm's still down a member or 2. They're not going to look to contest this one. Instead, they let that one go. I imagine we're just going to get ready for the next Fury that's going to be coming up here. Primal is the name of the game. That was going to take or make the Fire Giant a little bit easier to take down. Look at the positioning from Storm. They might just look to sneak this away while the Scorpions are resetting. They are wise to it. They've got pathing towards it.
RelentlessOne, first one in, finds Globe on the back. There's the Beats Force, but look how quickly this Fire Giant is burning. Bayroneri throws out the ult. What will secure it? It will be Serpent of the Nine Winds. Xibalba Storm pressuring out relentlessly in through the Aaru Scorpions. No chance to back up and set up. Instead, they will take what they can as quick as they can. Hapn, CC'd and about half HP. But that is all that will end up happening there. All 5 members get away with this. That is the absolute, to quote you, a masterclass in just macro play coming out from the Storm.
See, now you're getting it, Blur. You can quote me as long as it's not Kaizo.
See, yeah, I got you on that one.
No, phenomenal play from the Storm here. That is a best case scenario for them. Okay, best case would be that Globe doesn't have to use either of his relics in that situation. But if you're trading those out to make sure you've secured yourself a 20-minute Fire Giant, all right, we're happy with that. You keep everyone alive. RelentlessOne may not be alive for much longer. Aegis gets used. Dash comes through, caught by the wall. And lurking in the waters, finishes that one off. It's just a Primal Fury now for the Storm. They'll look to snowball this lead here, Blur. And honestly, they're doing a fantastic job of it. Pushing themselves much further forward. Tier 1's still on the board on the left side. Tier 2's across the map. We're not likely to see any Phoenix pushes off of just the first Fire Giant. There's a lot of gold on the board that the Storm can simply pick up, put in their pockets, and push themselves that much further forward.
They really can. They've still got runic bombs in pocket, like you mentioned with Hapn, so any one of these could be forced down and made an issue because Xibalba Storm will not have to spend too long diving for. And at this point in time, items coming online is such a gulf between these two teams. The only one who's really keeping major pace is Bayroneri right now, and RelentlessOne, but you've seen how easily RelentlessOne is to take down in these fights, and NotGeno with only 2 items just gets absolutely deleted off the map. No compassion on the side of Xibalba Storm, and none shown towards Geno.
Man, no, they have a war banner, and they are waving it proudly. Geno did not last even 10 seconds against that damage. Now Scarab's Blessing, not a factor in this fight. This tier 2 goes down probably without too much of a defense from the Scorpions. I like this from GuyJ, trying to split the map, get what he can. He's gonna be hard-pressed to find anything of value. The longer he's over there, there's the go button.
There it is, and it's all on RelentlessOne, who didn't have beads, and they were forced out. Now Miggy is torn asunder. GuyJ rotates back in, but is punted into the wall. Now just getting surrounded and pounded, and eventually, hopefully, grounded. But unfortunately for the Xibalba Storm, Geno respawns and comes back with the Scarab's Blessing. So Phoenix Siege attempted. They end up with only 2 instead. Xibalba Storm, I don't think are really that upset by that.
I can't believe you went that far on GuyJ. Oh my. He did his best. He tried. Unfortunately, if the rest of your team dies before you get there, it makes the Chernobog a very easy target upon landing. Shipigami simply, as you said, punched him straight into the wall and pretty much stops any thought of aggression from the Scorpions there. Now, they do hang on to their Phoenix. That was the big thing they had to make sure they didn't lose. So giving up lives for it, but as long as your base still stands, you still have presence on the map. Once that bird falls, it gets so much harder for the Scorpions to respond to any of the objective pulls from the Storm. Yes, it's the mid lane, But man, it just doesn't feel good to lose any of your Phoenixes at 23 minutes into the game. So good on them, digging their heels in.
No.
Maybe a little bit sloppily. Still, the Storm haven't gone for that left side tier 1. Still 2 tier 2s on the board as well. Maybe a little bit over-eager from the Storm. They recognized GuyJ on that right side and saw an opportunity. Unfortunately for them, didn't quite pan out as big of a win as it could have been. So instead, a pullback, reset, start looking at this Fire Giant again here. And really, it's not a great place for the Scorpions to step up to at this moment. They're better off just trying to split the map, maybe send GuyJ up that left side. He's going to reset, probably head back there. Because at this deficit, you just don't want to fight around that Fire Giant. It's unenhanced. It's not going to be stripping away the backdoor protection, so you can still put up a defense around your birds. You pretty much just got to find whatever gold you can on the map.
And as it stands, it is just going to be taking down that tower. This is the thing we expect to see. But GuyJ did this last time, and they bottled it early at the threat of the Phoenix. That may have been what Xibalba Storm wanted. Didn't want to give up the tier 2 tower. Threaten the Phoenix, force them back. But either way now, with the Fire Giant still not respawned just yet, Bayroneri is also making their way over here to offer a little support towards GuyJ. They will hit Tegveer, but he just doesn't care with how little damage he's taking. Fire Giant has respawned. RelentlessOne is the only one from the Aaru Scorpions here, and he will watch as it goes down. Very close, but no cigar. An early Spirit of the Nine Winds could have spelt trouble for them. But even so, Xibalba Storm get themselves the next Fire Giant. They'll trade out the tier 1 and tier 2, but look where the Titans are going to be marching down. They're marching down that left-hand side. And like you said, they're waving the war banner with Hapn here. I would not be surprised if that's where they want to go ahead and spearhead a fight.
Yeah, it's just the easiest push to make at this point in the game. You just saw the Scorpions try to push those minions up that lane, so Storm pretty much has to get over there and start counter-pushing that if they want their Titan to get any actual leeway. And once that thing starts stepping up to the towers, those things will disappear very quickly. All that standing gold we were just talking about a little bit ago, that's going to drop off the map. Scorpions aren't really in a position where they can step up with their own Titan to try to counter-push this. What we'll likely see is Storm pretty much just killing off the Scorpions Titan in the lane, taking that tier 1 without a contention. Scorpions may try to step up at this tier 2, put some poke down range, but once again, it's at the Phoenix line that they have to dig in. Love this from GuyJ. He knows they've got some time to play with, so try to even the odds as much as you can.
He's got to keep going, though, because he knows Xibalba Storm. This will turn into a base race here. No one's rotating. This will be a trade out of Phoenixes. But look at this. Xibalba Storm recognize it. They try the same try again. This time, they send 3 members over. Bayroneri, though, gets the alternative timeline to stay alive. And the follow-up ult, and Globe is getting so low. The Phoenix hasn't fallen. Instead, it's Aaru Scorpions who turn it around. GuyJ shows up, takes down Tegveer, and they got the right side Phoenix. Finally, the left-hand side minions start making their way in. Titan will start slapping, but the Xibalba Storm, they have been halted in their tracks.
They have not been halted, Blur. They were picked up by their collars and hauled out the door and thrown back onto the street. What a swing from the Scorpions. Now, don't get it wrong. This does not even the game by any stretch of the means. Storm, still up 7,000 gold, still plenty of room on this map to play around with. What they've done is they've made a misstep. They didn't quite account for how quickly GuyJ could push those 2 structures down and then get back to the fight and help his team defend. But at this kind of lead, you're afforded 1 or 2 mistakes like that. That's what these massive gaps do for you, is they say, okay, you can afford to make 1 mistake and it won't cost you the game. You start making more, you start making a series of mistakes, now you're in trouble. All the Storm has to do is play this right side, not let those Fire Minions step forward. This is objectively the weakest Phoenix that the Scorpions could take. It's the closest one to the Fire Giant, so the Storm can very easily defend that and keep their attention towards that pit. The biggest thing is the Scorpions did so without losing, again, any of their Phoenixes. Their position on this map is really getting stronger the later this game goes on. The Storm have to recognize that timer and start looking to close this one out soon.
Yeah, that 8K sort of feels like, the way I've always known it is called idiot insurance. You're allowed the 1 mistake.
Wow.
This time, though, It's for the casuals, you know. I'm gold. I'll admit it. I spend 57 minutes in a game where we can't end. I'll admit it. I've been there. It's just as much idiot insurance for myself as anyone else who plays the game. But the caveat is, though, is that if they make too big of a mistake, Aaru Scorpions could just potentially end. Because GuyJ is doing what every Chernobog needs to do, is pressure out the map, warp the way this is. And Xibalba Storm, remember when we were looking at that fire giant? They were trying to ask questions. Well, they need to find a way to answer it. As Geno torn asunder, and the timing on the Serpent of the Night Winds is absolutely perfect. Geno picked up for free.
Maybe Geno wants to start looking into an alternate timeline alongside Bayroneri here. He is just gone so quickly. And now this tier 2, that shouldn't stand a chance against the Storm. Mind you, the Fire Giant isn't even up just yet. Oh, but Storm doesn't have the time to bring their minions up. Fire minions pushing forward. Is this right side tier 2 is going to survive for a little bit longer here. And man, look at that death timer blur. Geno down for another 25 seconds. Fire Giant is going to be enhanced this time around. You should be able to get there in time to at least throw a Scarab's Blessing out on someone. But your margins are getting slimmer by the second. The Scorpions really can't afford to get caught out like this. And again, it really comes down to respecting Hapn and the fact that he's not missing these plucks. When push comes to shove, it actually comes to throw, because Hapn is landing what he needs to.
He is. But I like what we've seen as a mix-up here. Wherever GuyJ is, Tegveer's rotated over, because they can pretty much match the rotation with the relics that they have. But Fire Giant is on the table, and all 5 members, like you said, are going in. Hapn goes in first, finds GuyJ's beads. That could be a target. Where is Ratmilk going to land? It's down on 2 instead, and RelentlessOne just eats way too much damage. Bayroneri's forced into the Aegis and trying to stick alive. But Xibalba Storm are just trying to pick apart whoever they can. Beads forced on migiiiiii as well, who's having to turn tail and run. Another clean pick onto RelentlessOne. This Agni has not been having a good time. Enhanced Fire Giant now. Xibalba Storm will go for it. Geno's here, but might not be for much longer. It's happened though. Ends up caught on an awkward spot. They end up falling. Shi'igami takes down Geno eventually. It's not the fight that Storm wanted.
It's not the one they wanted, but it's the one that they're going to take. migiiiiii is back, but Tegveer has just teleported in as well. Likely not seeing any more pressure on this Fire Giant. They're looking to drop. Low, very low.
migiiiiii go. Oh, you can't back there. migiiiiii will go ahead and get a cheeky kill. Over, and it will deter everything. Now it's just Benny Hill time. Buy as much time as he can. Go one way, fly to the other. Thor rotates in, back through with the ultimate. And sure, it's all murder as she wrote, but it delays that time. Xibalba Storm now, 20 seconds within a 3v3, and even then it'll be a 4v4 shortly afterwards. What is it Aaru Scorpions need to do? We've seen them be able to punch back and counter punch. How do they get a first swing in here?
They need to not have their beads pulled so frequently. RelentlessOne is constantly getting these purification beads forced out, usually by Ratmilk, and it's really limiting how effective he can be on this Agni. It's limiting his aggression, limiting his positioning. And so when the second dive comes in, when Ratmilk dunks down, he doesn't have any safety to help heal for his team. They're getting split way too easily by the Storm. Now Ratmilk going back up to the sky, looking to do it all over again.
Where will he land? There's a big calling, and it's on Bayroneri again. But even so, the backup is there. Empty the Crypts comes through. Huge stun from Bayroneri, like you said. And that stops Xibalba Storms in their track. And we've seen, even with this Breastplate of Valor online for Bayroneri, one fleeting breath, and Tegveer's put to half health. Tegveer's last item, it's a Heartseeker. It's trying to do more damage. But even so, I don't think Xibalba Storm need more damage.
No, the Storm have plenty of damage as it is. They are very quickly deleting members of the Scorpions on every engagement. The problem is that sometimes they're not keeping track of who they've deleted and who they haven't. migiiiiii gets to flank around, delete someone. They spend too much time chasing him out. And RelentlessOne, when given space, has been ruining these fights for the Storm. And that's why Ratmilk's been looking to take his relics on cooldown. Now Storm, look at this Fire Giant once again. Scorpions are in the area. An eye on GuyJ in that mid lane. Ultimate not available. He has to come over the long way.
Yeah, he just used it, but Xibalba Storm back up completely. A 3-man wall and a pluck back in. But Miggy goes into the back line looking for Globe. Beads and Aegis. Well, Aegis down now, but it might be too little too late. Globe gets to live because they got support from Shinigami. They'll tear down Miggy, and Ratmilk doesn't keep the fight going. Instead, they'll stall this one out. They'll take the tiniest of margins, but they can't stick around. They have to back up. They cannot keep this fight going. At this point, I kind of want one of these two to just have a sustained comp, because at least then a fight is cleanly won.
Yes. Well, I do think this does work out better for the Storm. Obviously, they're the ones that got to kill 5v4 now, but oh my god!
That's disgusting amounts of damage. If Bayroneri gets to do that, then these fights will be over. Aaru Scorpions looking to answer back. These are sloppy and messy fights here. Whoever is the Aaru, it has to, I've got to say it, like, Bayroneri has to be deleted immediately from these fights, or else Majors late game do silly and disgusting things.
Here's the problem, though, Blur. You want to delete Bayroneri first in the fights? Great. He's got 3 lives. Dime's just covered it, right? You got your initial life, your alternate timeline, you got the Scarab's Blessing to worry about. Okay. If you are somehow able to get through that, you've still got RelentlessOne dropping bombs on your head. You're probably not getting backup from your team because he's just creating a no-play zone where everyone is stunned if they try to step forward. All right, maybe RelentlessOne isn't a problem. Maybe you got rid of him. Okay, well, how about GuyJ, who's just going to be shredding you as you're trying to deal with this op wash? It's such a tough place to be in. They have to get this Fire Giant. Ratmilk's up in the air.
Xibalba Storm do grab it again. Where is Ratmilk going to land? It's a full disengage. Hapn will be the sacrificial lamb for it, and they're happy to do so. So Aaru Scorpions now with a small window. It's a small. They've got a minute of time to try and play with this, so they have an advantage. But even so, Xibalba Storm do have that enhanced Fire Giant. This will not be easy. They're going to go ahead and they're going to smash down this tier 2 tower. They could potentially even try to brute force this Phoenix. They've got Bayroneri's ult for zone control, but Globe, if they can clear the minions out, it's going to be so difficult to go in. Geno CC'd out heavily. They'll be forced into shelling and making a break for it. Bayroneri throws out the ult. Everyone's backed and away. They could get this. GuyJ needs just a little bit more damage, but they can't find it. Instead, Bayroneri tries to step forward. Now Miggy blinks in on the back line and takes down Globe with a Typhoon.
That is massive. Ratmilk tries to find the hammer, but Bayroneri walks out alive. Everyone from the Scorpions managed to get out of this one. I was on the fence about that push, Blur. Yeah.
Just going for it.
Oh my god, Miggy, what are you doing? Get out of there, buddy. Just don't worry about it anymore. You got what you came for. Now is the time to leave, where you throw away what you've earned. Globe falling on that defense was critical for the Scorpions taking down that Phoenix. The Tornadoes and the Spirit of the Nine Winds just puts out so much zone control and makes it so difficult to step forward to shred that objective. Miggy has the target prioritization on lockdown. And really, it's a lot easier for the Scorpions than it is for the Storm. There are no 3-life members of Xibalba Storm. You kill someone, they're staying down. You know that for sure. You can simply shift your attention to the next target. Or, better yet, kill and disengage, as Miggy just did. The Scorpions, when their composition is online and rolling in the fights they want to take, is so much easier to execute because they've drafted all the things that would mess it up.
They really have, and it's been great to see it. I think for me, the big one is they play around with that backdoor protections. Minions get in, and as long as someone is tanking the Phoenix, those backdoor protections are down. If you step out and then go back in, they're back up. But every member from Aaru Scorpion steps in. Even Bayroneri, like you said, gets away on the barest minimum HP that they have, and they're able to get that mid-Phoenix. Now, that's 2 Phoenixes that Xibalba Storm have either lost or had respawn and back to their weakened state. Xibalba Storm, though, looking to brute force down their own side. They'll go ahead and clear up the left side Phoenix. I am surprised that Aaru Scorpions still have 2 Pyro Bombs or Runic Bombs in the pocket. It may have made the mid-Phoenix a bit easier to get down, but we are trading Haymaker for Haymaker here. And honestly, I feel like this is going to come down to which team blinks first as to who loses.
I mean, It's about sending a message at this point, right? You don't need to use the runic bombs because we're just going to force it down ourselves. They had the numbers advantage, so they want to save those for a tighter fight. Maybe, around their own Phoenix, they might need to get a little bit more damage out. Still, Shinigami has the EFG around his belt still. Ratmilk and Tegveer both still have that extra damage. Sure, it might not be on Glow. You have it on the one shredding the tower. And Gino? Huh?
Gino went very aggressively forward. Thankfully, does not eat too much damage. RelentlessOne, though, cannot be saying the same thing. We'll get away from it. This is tentatively trying to poke and prod at whatever they can find here. And like you said, Shinigami does have that buff. But Bayroneri may just be falling here. Will they be long enough?
Wow.
Just about one last tick was needed from the Whirlwind, but unfortunately it does not go through. So Bayroneri gets to live. They'll burn Aegis, but they've still got 3 lives. Here's the thing. I was saying like, oh my god, Bayroneri might die. No, it would have been an alternative timeline.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, that's a big thing to pull, but it's not quite as good as getting the kill.
It's so tough, right? Because at this point, Storm will take anything they can get there. Scarab's Blessing had been used already. If they'd been able to pull the alternate timeline, that would have made their next siege look so much better. More importantly, would have made this Fire Giant so much easier. They weren't able to do that. Scarab's Blessing will be back up when we start grouping around this Fire Giant. Alternate timeline did not go down. So Bayroneri still 3 lives, still tons of zone control. And we've seen the amount of burst he can put out if he just lands those corpses just right. It's half healthing these squishies. But really now, the question is, how does Storm mitigate the effect that Bayroneri has? You can't simply kill him first. You have to try to force what he has out of the kit. Or they could just start it up first.
Well, they'll get the Fire Giant. Yeah. Aaru Scorpions very late on the rotation. I was doing like you. I'm thinking, all right, where is everyone? Is GuyJ coming over? Nope, GuyJ's clearing out waves and pushing it out. Xibalba Storm get themselves a free Fire Giant. Their mid Phoenix is respawned. You can see everyone's going to make a beeline towards it. This Oni Fury might be a pivotal point. GuyJ's going to try and burst this one down. But Aaru Scorpions seem comfortable on trying to hold. And well, the item golf that I mentioned before, that's all gone. It's relics and 3k pots being upgraded to being looked at now. That's pretty much where everyone's at. The Xibalba Storm's lead is in these 3k pots, but that's about it.
I do think that Scorpions are favored at this stage of the game. We're very late into things. GuyJ on this Chernobog has an insanely good late game. It is a little bit better than Anhur's late game is. He has an attack speed steroid. He can tear through these objectives very quickly. He's got the crit build online, so he's going to be slinging these attacks out very fast. Add in the mitigations he gets from his ultimate, looking pretty good there. We haven't even talked about Scarab's Blessing because I feel we've done that quite enough so far.
Yeah, and you can see here, just look at the player damage. It's a huge block of Xibalba Storm, but look who's topping it.
Yeah, I mean, is it any surprise? Bayroneri simply presses forward and puts out massive damage. Hapn, pull back in. Not a great spot for him. Oh my god.
Yeah, and look at this. They can start pelting back. We talked to early stages where Hapn, oh my god, he's hitting these plugs and is doing so much. Gino is kind of like that, but in slow motion. He'll pull someone in and then drag them back for that situation. It may as well be a knock. It may as well be the same thing. I mean, they're both Egyptian gods. Maybe it's an Egyptian thing.
You heard it here first, folks. Khepri is just Sobek, but in slow motion.
I mean, one of them's a Nile crocodile. The other one is a giant scarab beetums. Tegveer tries to push up in the mid lane and has eaten way more health than I think anyone on the team would have liked to see. So that has pretty much stunted this. I mean, look at this. This has been such a disjointed fight from Xibalba Storm. Every Phoenix is back up now.
Man, this is just so strange. The Storm are trying to force these objectives down. Like, 3 people on one Phoenix, and then maybe one guy goes to the other one, and then Ratmilk is just kind of waiting on the back, saying, okay, well, how's this one going to go? They have the EFG. They just need to group up as 5 and take a step forward, a confident step forward. But think the reason they're so hesitant is, again, because of these 3 lives the Bayroneri has. It's so difficult to make a play and say, this is going to win us the game. Because if you miscalculate, if you put everything into killing this one guy, and then he just gets revived, your push has just been completely destroyed, and you have nothing left to fight back against the Scorpions. So they're fishing to try to get any opening they can, trying to poke someone out, force them back to the fountain before they step forward. And they just haven't been able to do it yet.
What?
Wow.
Ratmilk goes up down on the ultimate. As is, again, we're seeing such a disjointed fight. It's Aaru Scorpions using their abilities. I think, like you said, they're looking for that small opening as Storm. It's abilities, but RelentlessOne has enough cooldown to where, oh, they've ulted, so doesn't matter. Bayroneri isn't committing the ultimate to any of these engagements. They're holding it so perfectly for it, and they're just throwing out little bits of damage. The range game is Aaru Scorpions in favor, and that on this siege here, Xibalba Storm need to all-in commit, because otherwise they aren't going to get any chance to get a Phoenix.
I'm going to make a brazen call here, Blur.
All right.
Storm are not winning around these Phoenixes. They're simply not going to win if they try to siege the Phoenixes. If they're taking 5-on-5s in that Phoenix line, they're losing the game. They have to try to take a fight around the Fire Giant pit. And the Scorpions have recognized that. That's why they don't show up to that last one. They know that that is their big danger zone. If they can keep baiting the Storm to fight around these narrow corridors where they can set the pace of the fight, they will eventually wear the Storm down. Like you mentioned earlier, these are not sustained comps. Any damage that the Storm takes is sticking. Yes, the Enhanced Fire Giant will give them some regen, but it's not quite 3 lives kind of regen. All the Scorpions have to do is basically keep hunkering down and waiting for the misstep. Now, RelentlessOne is stepped up. Keep an eye up on that upper mid lane there. You can see migiiiiii making a flank around. They may be looking to make a play here.
And this is a good look for them, because as you can see, Xibalba Storm, they've always been corralling themselves backwards. RelentlessOne, beads are used, but Hapn does not land the ult. Sprint route comes on out as well. Look who's up in the sky. It's Ratmilk. Where do they land? They land down on Bayroneri. That's a huge fight for Shi'igami. It is, but this ult comes through as migiiiiii takes down Shi'igami, and Bayroneri gets to walk away. And now it's just migiiiiii walking away because Ratmilk's way too focused on migiiiiii to notice GuyJ punting him in the back. Now Tegveer is trying to fight Gino 1v1, and the most disjointed fight we have seen from the Xibalba Storm.
Wow.
Aaru Scorpions capitalized on so perfectly. GIobe is isolated alone and being run down by RelentlessOne. Tegveer is obliterated by 3 members, and Aaru Scorpions have spent the best part of 46 minutes on the back foot, taking punches and trying to answer back. But they might just get themselves a win, because who cares? GIobe now has to have the miracle defense here.
No, I don't think he gets there in time. Spirit of the Night Wind is already down. It's back up!
It is up, and Gino gets it, but it doesn't matter. 46-41, Aaru Scorpions. They hunker down, and they wait for one opening. And that's the moment they strike. That's the moment they win the game, Spooky.
And they just got bored around those Phoenixes, man. They said, okay, I'm tired of the scenery. Let's take a switch up here. migiiiiii, excellent maneuvering in that last fight. He got spotted out. It didn't really matter because Bayroneri is so willing to step forward because he has so much safety with the Scarab's Blessing alternate timeline. He can just throw himself out there and say, hey, you know what? Here's an extra field of damage. migiiiiii, do what you will with it. I might see you later. I might see you on the gray screen. We'll find out later. Ratmilk, like you said, was way too focused trying to force migiiiiii out of that fight. He was very low. He could have secured the kill if his hammer can come up just a second faster. But he just took way too much damage from GuyJ. And it just really just cascaded from there.
It certainly did, and hopefully we get to see something like this come through for Game 2, but we're going to go ahead and get that set up. So now's a good time for a snack. You don't want to miss Game 2.
I know it's been a while, haven't talked since July. You've been on my mind, don't hang up. I know it's been some time since I called you mine. You've been on my mind, don't hang up. Maybe I'm a little bit jealous, haven't told my friends we ended it. Yeah, I know that it's wrong. Maybe it's a little bit selfish calling you up when I'm wasted, when I know that you moved on. Is she in your arms right now? Tell me, is she gonna stay the night? Tell me, is she in your arms right now? Is she in your arms tonight? Like I used to be. Like I used to be. Can't get over you, just wanna talk things through. Tell me what to do, don't give up. After all that we've been through, I give my all to you. Just tell me what to do, don't give up on me yet. Maybe I'm a little bit jealous, haven't told my friends we ended it. Yeah, I know that it's wrong. Maybe it's a little bit selfish calling you up when I'm wasted, when I know that you moved on. Is she in your arms right now? Tell me, is she gonna stay the night? Tell me, is she in your arms right now? Is she in your arms tonight? Like I used to be. 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 Promise that I'll do better. Promise I love you forever. Sorry for letting you down. Promise that I'll do better. Promise I love you forever. Sorry for letting you down. Maybe it's a little bit selfish calling you up when I'm wasted, when I know that you moved on. Is she in your arms right now? Tell me, is she gonna stay the night? Tell me, is she in your arms right now? Is she in your arms tonight? Like I used to, like I used to be.
We never can get high enough. Nothing here to hold me up. It's pretty cool to fall in love. It's kinda like a fall from space. What they call a fall from grace. But I'm not gonna fall today. When you're up, you think you'll never go down, never go down. Ooh. Once you're down, you think you'll never get up, never get up. Ooh. When we love, we think we'll never break up, never break up. Ooh. But we break up and make up, get down and get up, break up and make up, get down and get up.
Well, the Aaru Scorpions were down, but certainly not out there in game number one. And if you may have missed out on some of what the Aaru Scorpions have been doing over the course of their phase, maybe some of these other SCC teams, you could.
J-Mac, I got it. I got it, man.
Okay.
Listen here, chat. If you've missed out on any one of these games, one of these bangers, you know, that massive comeback that we just got to witness, you can check it out on youtube.com/SmitePro or youtube.com/SmiteVod. We've got content galore. I'm talking round tables. I'm talking square tables. I'm talking triangle tables. We got all the shapes. That's what woodworkers do. That's why we invented axes, all right, so that we can form wood in whatever shape we want. And that's what you'll get at youtube.com/what I just said a moment ago.
Nice, Smith. Nice. Smite Pro and Smite VOD if you want to check out all the behind-the-scenes content, or if you just missed out on any of the games and you want to see all the different shape tables that we have, you can find those over on those channels. What you need to tune into is this set right now, because, man, Aaru Scorpions being down 30,000 gold by the end of that game. And when we start getting to, 35, 40 minutes, we start saying, gold's not really a relevant number at that point. But 30,000 is still a big number even that late into the game, Miv. Kills were down like 8 to essentially 20 at that point. I mean, the Aaru Scorpions were essentially out of that game. But all you need is one team fight, one good distraction. You pull the mid laner away. You keep this Kukulkan away from a base defense. And it makes it just a little bit easier for the Aaru Scorpions to push in there, take that game.
And the Storm run into the wall of how do we deal with multiple lives, right? We can get on to priority targets, but what about the timelines? What about the Khepris? What about the Scarab's Blessings? How are we going to deal with all that? And the answer devised in draft was Ratmilk. Ratmilk is going to be our guy. He'll get into the back line, separate it, have Tegveer be the execute, and there's no way Geno's going to find the priorities every single time. Here's the thing. He absolutely did. RelentlessOne was putting out so much damage. GuyJ was putting a little bit of pressure on map. I would have liked to see a bit more of the Chernobog split push, but top to bottom, the Aaru Scorpions play into a massive deficit for an unreasonable amount of time. I think they stretched that game just long enough, playing upwards of 5 digits down for so long. It would have been criminal had they not found a victory at the end of it. So congratulations to the Aaru Scorpions getting a leg up in this set. And that's got to feel bad for the Xibalba Storm. That is a real mental crusher, being able to control the game for as long as they did, but still not be able to close it out.
Yeah, I think a lot of the big turnaround, more than anything, at least for the side of the Aaru Scorpions, was off the back of migiiiiii on the Susano, really able to wrap through the back line, kind of bob and weave himself in just to really help things out and make sure that he can get these priority picks, take out these mid laners, take out these enemy junglers. A number of times we see him wrap through and just grab this Kukulkan with one quick little pull and make sure that he's pulling maybe this ADC out of position from a pull into a Typhoon. Just really helps set up for these late game sieges. Really makes things a whole lot easier for the side of the Aaru Scorpions come late game. But it was a very difficult early game for them, being down 4 digits for quite some time. 6,000 gold, pushing up towards 10,000+ beyond there. Does make it a very tough task to really fight back in, but the Aaru Scorpions are able to do so. So now the question is for the Xibalba Storm. I really don't think it's a case of, okay, well, now you need to draft something different. Maybe it's you just need to execute on field and be able to power through this. Or maybe just ban the Opwash. You don't got to deal with this timeline nonsense.
Maybe it's the Opwash, maybe it's the Khepri, maybe it's the combination of the two of them. But I agree. Anytime you've established a 10,000 gold lead as quickly as they did, you cannot look at the draft, you can't look at the early game and say, well, this is different. Well, maybe if we had a stronger hyper carry in the late game, things would have been different. No, it all comes down to execution on field. When you are that far up, you've got your hands on the levers of power solidly. All you got to do is firmly grasp it and pull down. And unfortunately, the Storm couldn't quite find that.
A bit of a limp arm trying to pull the victory cord this
it's
time.
Heavy.
So we'll have to see if the Xibalba Storm can be able to close out game number 2, take us to game number 3. I mean, we've been there a few times already. And with how close these teams have really been, the fact that both these teams have knocked out a top team at this point, the Valkyries and the Weavers taken out by these two teams, actually respectively for first and second pick for those ones, means that they've got that fight back in. Let's see if the Storm will be able to close this one out for themselves. Already rapid firing through the bans, though. Naja, Aphrodite, and that Opwash taken away from the Storm. They said, you know what? 2 lives is bad enough when you got to deal with an Opwash and a Khepri. Throw the timeline in at a 3rd life, just a little too annoying, a little too much damage that can come through there. They banned that one out, and the Storm will go back and pick up the Kukulkan once more, though it gives up the Raijin and Morgan Le Fay on the opposite side.
Man, it's this mage meta, top to bottom. Man, I'm loving what I'm seeing insofar as individual selections. Great, Kukulkan, phenomenal for the Storm, first pick. It's been dominating the SCC for the last few weeks.
Tsukuyomi.
That's fine. Raijin, Morgan Le Fay on the other end feels real good. It's now where we're going to start seeing some of the identities of these drafts start to round through. It seems like everyone in the SEC has agreed that the 3 picks that have been locked in have just about been the bread and butter. So now Ganesha Tsukuyomi starts to develop the identity of the Xibalba Storm a little bit. You've got a King Protection style support, great protection shared, objective shred potential, as well as just shred towards tanks. And then this Tsukuyomi, which has got a good deal of flexibility. We've seen it in the jungle. We've seen it in the soul lane. Most recently in the soul lane has had a lot of success. I'm thinking about that Aquarius matchup we got to see just yesterday. High kill potential, but most importantly, the ability to chase out some of these more difficult to lock down kills. Guys like Chernobog can go up to the air. If you hit him with Piercing Moonlight beforehand, he's still going to take that damage.
Now on the opposite end, against Camazotz and Chernobog, they get distracted up by the Scorpions, get some of that front line, a little bit of back line, that split push potential from the Chernobog. It's answered by a Ram and a Batz. You want to talk about maybe just a couple of shots away from closing out a kill? Ram's a great one to do so. Jumping in the sky, those snipes have quite the distance to them to try and kill some of those targets who might have just been able to jump over a wall or just jump a little too far away. And we see the Charon, drafted by the Aaru Scorpions. A very hot and cold pick so far, at least this tournament. Has not had too much success. I believe not a single game won yet of the 3. So have to see if the Aaru Scorpions can maybe try and lead something with this one. But it always feels like Charon tends to struggle when you just have him as the lone tanks in these styles of compositions.
And to build on that, you know, we've heard the expression greater than the sum of their parts, right? I would argue the Aaru Scorpions composition is lesser than the sum of their parts right now, because, I mean, looking at it, I'm seeing lacking initiation. I'm seeing not great follow-up on the lack of CC that they already have. This is going to be a composition that really struggles in the team fight, even though individually, all 4 of those picks, I'm not going to put Charon on the list, are really good.
Well, let's see if the Aaru Scorpions can find that success, get themselves a 2-0, or are we going to be going to game number 3? We'll find out in game number 2 as we throw it back over to Blur and Spooky.
Thank you very much, J-Mac and Central Mifflin over on the desk with that ad read. But either way, like you said, this could be the turning point here. Aaru Scorpions, completely different draft, Spooky, so they go ahead here. But if the tale of the tape today is anything, this could be Xibalba Storm battling us back and taking us to a game 3. And they got Globe back on this pick, and Tegveer's on their signature pick as well for this tournament. It's not exactly a bad look for them.
It's not a bad look by any means, but neither was the majority of game number 1. At this point, I can't say I have any expectations, other than I'm probably going to be surprised by whatever happens, like Hapn just happening to take all this damage at the very start. It's not the greatest way to start off your duo lane, but tanky boy, he'll be okay. He's got his pots, he'll heal up. My eyes really do go to Tegveer of the Susano, Ratmilk of this boss, Geno. Ouch.
Ooh. Goodness gracious me, these two supports are hitting a brunt of the damage over in the duo lane so far. I feel like we need to change the duo lane to the dual lane, the way these two teams have been jousting back and forward, but maybe a 2v2 for now. But Miggy is looking to potentially tip that scale here. We've seen this a fair bit. Ratmilk is not one to come over to this side of the map early. Miggy instead will just end up with that shield buff farm instead.
Yeah, just a nice little boost of gold XP into Miggy's pockets there. Actually, I'm going to give the shield over to GuyJ. Miggy's just looking to reset here. He's got his shield buff up. He's got plenty of farm to get. Ratmilk, on the exact opposite side, is going to give Tegveer that silver buff. So, buffs split across the map here. Junglers pick up the XP for both of them. All in all, I'm not expecting to see too much really out of either one until they both hit level 5. That's really where they start to shine, is when those ultimates become available. Miggy becomes able to just dive people for free or get out of danger for free. And obviously you know the story with Hoonbots. That fear is why you pick him. And if you don't have it up, you're probably not looking to get active with it. So mostly just looking to play this one slow for now. Still, this duo lane has a lot of skirmishes. GuyJ.
Hold that.
Oh.
Blink aggressively there. RelentlessOne beats out a slow, but it doesn't matter. Ratmilk switching things up for a great first blood there. Like you said, you're expecting this Batz to play it slow, cool, calm, farm for a little bit till they get that level 5 and maybe the Jotun's online. Ratmilk. Yeah, it's Ratmilk. Different god, same playbook.
Yeah, I love that start though. This is shades of game 1 for Xibalba Storm. Ratmilk picks up the first blood, puts himself a little bit further ahead, takes over to level 5 first. That's a very good look for the right side of the map for Storm. Left side's still a little bit slower. But we've seen a switch up from Shinigami as well. He's been going for that Aussie in the first item slot, but he's gone Spike Gauntlet instead. He's looking likely to get those Devourer's Gauntlets and scale up a little bit. And on a god like Ram, who is a more effective late game character than early, the exact opposite of Anhur. I like this decision to go back to the right side.
The bees were forced, and guess what? That's just perfect timing. Minions kill off Tegveer.
Oh man.
Oh, that's gotta hurt to see that. If you're RelentlessOne, you gotta have a little bit of a giggle to yourself there, but hey, it's an answer back for the Aaru Scorpions. Morale is probably still high.
RelentlessOne has more kills than Tegveer does now. He's ahead in the lane. Now, unfortunate for Tegveer, but sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Those minions do a lot in the early game. As it happens, they just did a little bit more than he was able to tank this early on. Still, they get themselves the kill. They are working on putting RelentlessOne a little bit further down. And if you can keep this Morgan Le Fay down, she becomes a lot less potent. She's one of those mage solos who has to kind of get in there to really drop her CC. Yeah, she has the glyph, which can launch a long range fear. But the knockups that are coming through, those have to be close range. If you're looking to use the ultimate, a lot of value. It's pretty easy to dodge at long ranges. So looking to play forward, RelentlessOne is no stranger to that. Ratmilk once again making a trip over. He's gonna get spotted out by GuyJ using the ultimate though.
There was no way that was intentional. GuyJ just wanted back to lane. You gotta hate it when that happens. You're like, oh, sweet, I got a perfect plan. They don't know. And it's been completely ruined by something else happening on the map. But now Miggy, though, has turned their attention over this way. It's 2 level 7s versus 2 level 6s, but it is a semi-2v1 for now. Miggy looking to hit Tegveer, the piercing moonlight, ping-pongs backward and forward, lands on RelentlessOne. It has left them a little bit out in the open. Tegveer needs to try and weave in a little bit more damage without taking too much. Unfortunately, though, both members, or 3 out of the 4 members end up below 50%. Ratmilk, though, gets the ult back up in time and just presses 4 for another kill. 3 to their name, and all 3 of them are in the Xibalba Storm's pocket.
Yeah, that's what this Hoonbots brings to the table. When you see the CC immunity go down, it's the monkey's time to shine. I'm sorry, what?
What shaped table? That's the important question now.
Octagonal. We have those, right?
I like it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I should have one. I think I saw a couple around that way.
It's octagonal like a stop sign because he's pretty much telling you to stop playing the game.
That's what he has been doing at this point. Well, specifically the RelentlessOne, who has been relentlessly hounded down as the one target Xibalba Storm can fight early. And it's worked out fairly well for them here. We did see Miggy make the rotation over in an attempt to levy some kind of mediation in control for this, but it didn't end up doing much. Is that really like what's going to end up happening with this? Because Miggy's on Camazotz. I don't see this as a god who comes over to a lane and says, guys, please stop doing damage. I don't want you to do that. He's the guy who has to jump in and get the kill first.
He's good at saying, please stop dealing damage to this guy and try to do damage to me instead. Unfortunately, this early on, he doesn't really have a lot going for him, and as soon as Tegveer goes into Piercing Moonlight, he just gets to ignore Miggy. It's kind of this Uno reverse card, right? Because Miggy typically just hits 4, goes to the bat out of hell, and ignores everyone else. And now he's having it done to him, and it doesn't feel very good, does it, Miggy?
It certainly does not. I'm sensing some hostilities there. Maybe we'll talk about this in counseling after. I'm sure your therapist knows a lot about SMITE, more than they'd like to with that. But this is a very even game as it stands now. 8 minutes in, we were looking at Xibalba Storm dictating the pace. RelentlessOne was like 0-4 at the time. They're 1-3 now, so it's already working out better. But the gold lead as well is super, super close here. And look at this, even in the duo lane. NotGeno has opted for the wall flag themselves. Hapn looking for the more defensive play here.
You see, last time the team that had the war banner lost. So if you're the Storm, you're thinking it has to be, okay, we'll Uno reverse card them again. and just switch things up.
Ah.
Granted, it does just work better on Charon than it does on the Elephant. Ganesh is not the war flag kind of support that you're looking for. However, we are seeing some aggression around this purple buff Geno and big target.
I like this. They're not moving too much yet. The Stubborn Sticks goes through, and it does enough damage, but unfortunately GIobe is also there. Shi'igami goes up, looking for the immunity. Will pelt out the shots because they can. Tegveer takes the 1v1 on an invade and strips away a buff. Got about a half level to a full level lead now over in that solo lane. Finished up Runeforge as well. And this is the kind of situation with the meta I feel like we're in, Spooky. Because we've had so long in this mage meta, it's now not the case that mages are good. It's what's good at dealing with the good mages.
Genji's guard for one, which you can see Tegveer is starting to build into as well there. That's really good for a character like the Tsukuyomi, so ability reliant. As you get those up, the more damage you're doing. Really, it's just been this pressure being put on the mages early on. You know that this Morgan Le Fay is an immobile character. She's not going to have defenses early on. They go for the Pythags first. So the answer has been put early pressure down and try to get your own solo laner ahead. He's more mobile, he can rotate a little bit better, and hopefully he can have a bigger impact on the map faster. The problem is, Blur, the Scorpions have shown us time and time again they are very okay with playing the long game. If they are taking a couple knocks in the early game, no problem. They'll take some steps back, but they won't just stop fighting. They won't just give up. They're a team that looks for their opportunities, and they determine where they can dig their heels in at. And once they find that line, they will fight you to death on it. And as we've seen, they will take you with them. They will bloody you in that brawl. And we're now approaching a position where they are much closer to the Storm than they have any right to be in gold, XP. Sure, they're trailing slightly in some lanes, but in mid they're ahead. In the ADC, GuyJ is ahead. They're down 3 kills, but it just doesn't matter.
And look at this. They recognize that GIobe was the problem last time. Spirit of the Nine Winds hits so big, though. Bayroneri can't tank that one up. And as a result, kind of wishing that this was a solo lane, right, Jay?
Pillars.
It's put down. Pillars lock out Miggy, and Miggy falls to Ratmilk, teleports through. And I was about to say, Aaru Scorpions look like they might be able to have a pivot point around Bayroneri in the mid, but it's all squandered down as the fight goes awry, and Xibalba Storm come up 2 more picks, putting themselves 6-1 here, and now that gold lead is starting to be noticed.
That's what the Storm is looking for here. GIobe living that long is criminal. Now Storm gets to just walk through Scorpion's jungle, start stripping away that golden XP. That's where these leads start to come from. Take away the buffs, make sure the Scorpions are not getting their own farm, put it in your pockets. Now we're 11 minutes in, 11 and a half. Go Fury has to be the next question mark for the Storm. They have the Secure once again. They've got Shred now that they have Dharmic Pillars on their side as well. And these objectives just look so good for the Storm. The Scorpions' answer to them has to be to look for a fight or a pick around them. Now that we're approaching this 12-minute mark, they're 5 kills down. They're a couple thousand gold behind. It becomes harder to find those picks. And look, to still try to put some contention around these shield buffs. At this point, they have to be thinking of ways to take GIobe out of the picture. He's the biggest X factor around these objective fights. And really, any fight that they look to take, even these beacons, right? If this Kukulkan is on the board, you can't step up to it. He's just going to drop a whirlwind right in your face and say, "Do you want to come fight us on this beacon?" Just walk through all that damage first, and you're never doing that.
And now the same question, do you want to fight us on this Gold Fury? The answer from Aaru Scorpions is a yes, but look at the peel potential, but it's not even good enough. Aaru Scorpions get to sneak away the Gold Fury. It was just, that's Chernobog passive that got that. What?
Hey man, it's a heart of darkness, okay? You know, there's something to be said there, but at the end of the day, the Storm dropped 3 ultimates and whiffed the Secure. Spirit of the Nine Winds came down just a little bit too late. GuyJ gets the extra proc of damage and just beats out the tornadoes. That's all that really happened. if you're just relying on the shred, if you're holding on to that ultimate, you're 50-50 with the Scorpions in your face like that. And they win the coin flip this time. Brings this game pretty much back to even, only about 900 to 1,000 gold behind at this point. We've been over it, Blur. The Scorpions don't slow down. They don't take a step back and roll over just because they took 1 or 2 punches. They will get right back up in your face. And if you're not respecting them, if you're not zoning them out and keeping them away from these fights, you're taking a chance. And it's not a good one. You're down a game at this point if you're the Scorpions. The Storm. And it's a game you shouldn't have even lost with how the first one started. If you're this close now, that bears ill for the late game. migiiiiii, up into the bat out of hell, has to be careful in his own jungle now.
Yeah, I tell you, all this talk on the way you're describing this so reminds me of like old Energy days when it was up in Worlds against these NA teams. It was so calculated and calm and collected from this team. And that's what Aaru Scorpions have been doing. They are not losing fights that they should be losing. They are letting things go and recognizing, hey, we can get a win where we need it and when we need it. We're not going to overexert ourselves to something that's not worth it. It's a 2k gold lead. Yes, it's a gold lead, but split that between 4 people, if we're looking at it best. Most of it's probably on Tegveer, who hasn't rotated yet and has died anyway. You're completely fine and in an even field now. Yeah, and now look at this. Now migiiiiii gets to try and take a fight towards Hapn. Summon Sticks comes out, and it will at the very least pull out a little bit of damage. Gets the Magi's off. But look at that. All of that, they don't need to kill. They're just going for the structures because players respawn, but towers don't. And now, they're just going to blink in on Shiπigami, flick out a little bit more damage, and force them to ult.
Well, have to be careful, though. Ratmilk in the area. Doesn't have the ultimate yet.
Oh, that's such an awkward corridor, and the slow mows down one. Ratmilk follows it up, holds the ult, scares away everyone else. You may fear no evil, but you have to fear the fear no evil.
Who needs the fear no evil? Fear the spirit of the 9 freaking winds. That thing is destroying lives at this point. It just eviscerated them. migiiiiii and GuyJ just eating so much damage off that. And it's because, as you said, the Storm just pushes them into that one specific corridor where your options to avoid it are so limited. Now Bayroneri, in a bad spot, goes up into the ultimate, just trying to survive both relics used, but it will not survive. He's gonna fall. Tier 1 tower still stands. But man, that is such a rough look for the Scorpions.
It really is. And the worst part is I wanted to make a Rock You Like a Hurricane reference because it would have been great, but it's the Scorpions who sung it, so I can't use it for the Xibalba Storm.
Sure you can.
But it's the Aaru Scorpions. I mean, I can, but maybe it does, but
you can say Rock Me Like a Hurricane.
I mean, he has at this point. I mean, you just saw how much damage that everything's been doing. And we look at the Golden Hand as well. Just popping up. Staff of Mid and now finished. That's the big one that I was looking at, is when this comes online. Because you throw out the ult, and yeah, sure, it's doing 700 damage. But now suddenly Zephyr's doing like 900. Whirlwind's doing upwards of 1,000. Everything from the Kukulkan is scary damage.
You know, you could have used it when migiiiiii was on the Susano, too.
I could.
What's the difference between a Typhoon and a Hurricane?
I don't know. I'd have to look that one up in the break. I'll get back to you on that one.
They've got to be synonyms at this point.
Maybe. I mean, isn't that ability called Typhoon? It says he summons a hurricane and casters call it like a whirlwind.
You see?
So there's a ton of different calls here. But speaking of all the calls being made, Xibalba Storm, all 5 of them are on for the Oni Fury, and it's just given up by the Aaru Scorpions. They knew it was happening, but instead don't feel like they are in a comfortable position to push this one up. Beacon Boogie goes on the way of the Storm as well. And Aaru Scorpions just are playing hide and seek right now. None of them are visible on the map for the Storm.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this decision from the Scorpions. They are looking for a pinch here on the tier 1, but Bayroneri is completely isolated. They want to do anything that have to be now, and the window has already passed. Instead, maybe just trying to keep these 3 members of the Storm busy. GuyJ looks to push down this tier 2 and left, but even that's not going to work out.
Hello?
Wait.
Yeah, Geno
you doing?
did just push up that far
Uh-oh.
with no other team members around and eat a half of their health in damage. Ratmilk makes their way over to GuyJ to clear this one out. And it is 9-1, but the Xibalba Storm feel like they're playing a little bit on the defensive here. Aaru Scorpions are taking it to them. Globe takes a lot of damage. No follow-up there from the Summon Sticks. And now Geno is not having fun. Tegveer just pelting them in the back of the head. I mean, what else is he supposed to do with those two blades?
Man, you just hear the thump, thump, thump coming through from Tegveer as he's trying to chop away at Geno's health bar. Man, it's such a weird series of decisions from the Scorpions to completely give up the Oni, trade out nothing but a tier 1 on the right side of the map for it, burn the Summon Sticks, and now it's not available for the Pyromancer. And, hello? Oh my god, RelentlessOne.
RelentlessOne. RelentlessOne has been eating everything. I mean, look at that. He's still
Ouch.
taking damage from the Astral Barrage. But look at
Love
this
that.
call from Xibalba Storm. They're not interested in the Pyromancer. They want the big one. And no one on Aaru Scorpions is able to stop it. GuyJ is now pushing down this left-hand side because that's the best they can do. And Aaru Scorpions lick their wounds. And in befuddlement now realize, is this going to go like game 1 did to start?
I mean, that has to be the question on their minds, right? You think you're doing so well, and then you think back to game 1, and it's like, yeah, we were doing really well that time, too. But there's a few key differences, right? No one on the Scorpions has 3 lives this time. Wow, that's already a major factor in favor of the Storm. The Scorpions
now.
just don't seem to be willing to take these fights. I mean, it seems they're bending a lot, and they have not broken just yet. But the question is, how much further can they go before something does snap? The gold lead is getting bigger. The XP leads have gotten bigger. Ratmilk is up 3 levels on migiiiiii, and that indeed could be a big reason why they're not looking for a lot of these fights, is because migiiiiii doesn't feel comfortable diving into that backline because Ratmilk will simply kill his faster. At the end of the day, though, they have to be very careful because look at the way Storm is positioning. They want to find someone to pinch. Not going to be so lucky, though.
They won't. The thing is, as well, as Xibalba Storm's comp, I look at this and it's like, hey, do you remember how last game it was all like, get onto Bayroneri and he has 3 lives? How do you get to Globe? Because you've got to eat through Fear No Evil, then you've got to deal with Ohm, then you've got to get through the Dharmic Pillars, all while Shippigami is hitting you with basic attacks, or while Tegveer is diving your backline. You can't get to Globe in this instance, and as a result, the Aaru Scorpions, they're poking and prodding, and like you said, they are having to bend over backwards to try and keep parity here.
Now, Storm looking to siege down this tier 2. GuyJ has been struggling to find an entrance into these fights. You know, might not be able to reach Globe, so you might have to just worry about working front to back on this one, right? Ratmilk is going to jump in. You have to be ready to turn and burn him down. And there he goes.
There's the start. There it is. Blink Fear No Evil pushes everyone away. And it's only
Really?
Geno who's pushed forward, but they'll row on through this. The rest of the team will mosey on back
Ouch.
towards that GuyJ. It's all 3 of the Astral Barrages. They'll be sent back to base. Spirit of the Nine wins, clears out the left side, but Summon Sticks pushes everyone further back. Globe, though, still pushes down RelentlessOne. Now GuyJ comes back in with a Living Nightmare, and it's a retreat off of the Phoenix from the Xibalba Storm. It's a good hold for now. It's all on Bayroneri, like you said. Do the Aaru Scorpions take that as a win because they didn't lose Phoenix? I mean, migiiiiii wasn't even in that fight.
No, that was not a win. That was absolutely a loss for them. It's a consolation that they didn't lose the Phoenix. That's all it really is. They lost RelentlessOne. Bayroneri held his ult for a really long time. I mean, he doesn't pop it until they're at the Phoenix, and he pops it behind Phoenix line on that one. It feels to me like if you're wanting these fights to go your way, oh my god, migiiiiii has to burn the beads just to use the ultimate. That is rough look for migiiiiii. But if you're wanting to win these fights, right, you have to be ready to go into the Taiko drums when Ratmilk engages on you. You have to lock him down and not allow him to get any of that damage off. If you're allowing Fear No Evil to separate your team, Xibalba Storm is going to win that fight. Plain and simple, they are just simply too good at deleting these single targets. Storm are once again in the driver's seat. They've pushed their gold lead to a very comfortable position. And I would say the Scorpions don't have nearly as strong of a Phoenix defense as they did last game. This is looking a lot tougher for them this time around. And it's going to come down to how well they can play the map and split the map. They have GuyJ on this Chernobog. They just have to find a way for him to get to these structures and try to burn them down without being engaged upon by Ratmilk and Tegveer and simply being shredded. It's a tall order, but it's one of their avenues, and I think one of their few avenues left available to them.
And at this point, it's just Miggy. The reason Miggy is split pushing is Miggy needs farm. Miggy is doing the old pretty prime tactic of, guys, we're behind. Someone needs to get this farm. It's not going to be Bayroneri. They're too important. And Miggy, if we're calling a spade here, hasn't been able to impact any fights whatsoever.
No, that's a bat.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll call it. We'll call a bat then. In this instance.
That's better. That works better.
Yeah. Whether or not the rest of the team works better. I mean, look at this. Xibalba Storm don't even care about the Titans. Because they know, hey, that just gives us the window of opportunity towards this fire giant, and it is completely free. RelentlessOne will watch it go down again like they did on the Agni. Xibalba Storm, this is one thing I'm noticing, and it's a small thing at this point. GIobe is not securing with the Serpent of the Nine Winds. You've got to know that damage number. That I need to see that change. Come on, GIobe. You're better than this.
I don't know. I think he's throwing the Spirit of the Nine Winds and this effort at the same time, much like you would throw like a Searing Pain and a Celestial Ray at the same time to basically double your secure potential there. As long as they're hitting at the same time, work is being done on it.
That's fair.
It's pretty much an even trade though across the board, right? Xibalba Storm, get the Fire Giant. Aaru Scorpions recognize their fight is poor around that pit, so they take out the enemy Titan. As Storm just simply says, okay, well, let's kill yours. This is a sneak peek of what we plan to do in a few minutes. Where's the positioning from Scorpions right now? Like, they are pushing very far up this mid lane. They'll have time to reset back to this Phoenix, unless Miggy stays for the tier 2.
Miggy does get the tier 2. Now has to clear out the minion wave. Meanwhile, Xibalba Storm are using this as a go time. Bayroneri being taken down and tracked through the Taiko crash. As a result, Bayroneri picked up by Shippigami on the back line. Ratmilk does their best zone duty. And so that left side Phoenix will end up falling. Hapn now sticking around, keeping everyone safe. Miggy with the bat out of hell gets... I mean, they look terrifying, but they get hit once. And everyone on Xibalba Storm goes, yeah, he doesn't do damage. And Miggy looks at the team and goes, guys, I don't do damage. And has to disengage from it. And now Xibalba Storm, they'll just brute force down this mid tier 2 as well. This is not Enhanced Fire Giant. Keep an eye on Shinigami's damage. It's 131 a pop.
Man, Storm is just taking control of this game at this point. It's 11-1. They're 10k up. This is their game to lose. They've done an excellent job of keeping the Scorpions away from any objectives. Minus 1 Gold Fury. I'll grant that. But they haven't made that mistake since the first Fury, right? They've simply been grouping up and pressuring the Scorpions away and recognizing that the Scorpions can't fight them, so they're taking the free objectives that they know they can get. And the Scorpions have not found any footing. Frankly, Blur, there's a name I haven't said a whole lot in this game so far, and it's been Geno, right?
Right.
He just has not been finding value on this Charon. We've been seeing a lot of summon sticks that have been coming through, but they seem very low value. Sure, you're hitting the backline, but there's no follow. You're not hitting them from a position where your team can engage upon it. And look at that! Shippigami!
That's just a clean 900 damage pelted into the back. Ratmilk takes down Bayroneri with the ult themselves. And we saw this play happen over on the left-hand side. And the second burst is the same as the first. However, Xibalba Storm here might be looking to put the Titan in a hearse. They'll go in to try and end. 3 members still standing. Serpent of the Nine Wind hits. And that might be it. 13-2. Well, if we're being honest, it's 13-1 in 27.5 minutes here. We're going to game 3.
This was a much faster one from the Storm. Just as dominant throughout the early game as they were in game 1. I think they very clearly showed where the problem point was for them. That Opwash Khepri combo was just making it too hard for them to engage. Once they removed that from the equation, they pretty much played the same exact game, and this time it goes a hell of a lot better.
It really does. I think for me, the big one as well is migiiiiii just can't get involved. The Susano
Not at all.
last time, blinking in, deleting Globe off the map, setting up pressure. This time, the idea is there. That's kind of what Camazotz wants to do. But they just couldn't ever get the wheels spinning, and they spent the whole game on catch-up here.
It was just two picks that really couldn't find the value they were looking for. The Charon didn't find any actual setup for the team, and migiiiiii being so far behind that when he was engaging, it wasn't dealing damage. All he could use the bat out of hell for was disengage, and that's not what you're looking for in your jungler.
It's not, and now this best of 3 turns to a best of 1. That will be the match we'll be bringing back after the break. So go get yourself a drink and find out how this concludes in a bit.
What are you doing here? Why are you doing that? No, there are other things that would be a better option right now. Right?
Lights off, feeling like I'm falling. I don't wanna be alone with all these emotions. Emotional. Stuck with my own thoughts. Going in circles, know I'm gonna end up more lost than before. If I don't wanna feel like this, if I don't wanna feel like this, then tell me why I do the same shit over and over again. It's starting to drive me crazy. Like, just get out and face it. Fix your mess, you made it. Yeah, I did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to my, did it to my, did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to myself. Can't blame nobody else. Did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to myself. Did it to myself. Can't blame nobody else. Why do you always give someone your best advice? Your best advice, yeah. Why can't you listen to yourself when you know you're right? You know you're right. If I don't wanna feel like this, if I don't wanna feel like this, then tell me why I do the same shit over and over again. It's starting to drive me crazy. Like, just get out and face it. Fix your mess, you made it. Yeah, I did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to my, did it to my, did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to myself. Can't blame nobody else. Did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to myself. Yeah, I did it to myself. Did it to myself. Can't blame nobody else. It's none of my damn business. I should listen to my instinct and let go of all comparison. It's none of my damn business. I should just sit down and listen, 'cause I know I have a lot to learn. It's none of my damn business. I should listen to my instinct and let go of all comparisons. It's none of my damn business. I should just sit down and listen, 'cause I know I have a lot to learn.
It's none of my damn business. It's none of my damn business.
When you feel like it's over and nothing else matters, I know you feel so divided. Pick yourself up again and you better start walk, girl. Open up your step, hear you talk, girl. You have come too far to give it up now, even though it seems there's no way out. Take a look
you move, there's nothing left to prove. I know that you will find your love again. Don't be ashamed to cry. Hold your head up high. I know that love will save the day. When you feel like you're stranded at the edge of the world, I know you've been taken for granted. Give some love to yourself, and you better start walk, girl. Open up your step and hear you talk, girl. You have come too far to give it up now. Even though it seems there's no way out. Take a look in the mirror now, what do you see? You can be anything you want to be, you know. You will never be alone. Girl, don't make a move, there's nothing left to prove. I know that you will find your love again. Don't be ashamed to cry. Hold your
Well, Xibalba Storm, unhappy with the turnout in game number 1, decided to kick it up a notch and put into full throttle here to win out game number 2 over the Aaru Scorpions. And I think the easiest way to at least pull from who was the controlling factor of this one, it's all Ratmilk again. This Hun Batz, every time that we see it pop in, these Fear No Evils so clutch in team fights. But even some of these Fear No Evils not even used for actual fights. There's one point you look up, and he's using it just to steal a purple buff away from the Aaru Scorpions at this point. It just felt like at any given moment, if Ratmilk or GIobe show up to these team fights, it's essentially one for the Xibalba Storm.
Unfortunately for the Storm, it's not Ratmilk or GIobe this game. It's Ratmilk and GIobe popping off. I mean, that was a phenomenal performance from the jungle and mid lane combo, and that seems to be the common thread for the majority of the Xibalba Storm's wins. When those two are having a good game, things just work out well. Ratmilk with a lead can absolutely dominate a map. GIobe allowed to free farm even for a little bit. Will start rotating over towards those side lanes and start leveraging that lead real early on. A few lucky steals on objectives too. Xibalba Storm, everything that could have gone well for them absolutely does this time around. But a lot of it, I think, also has to do with the draft phase. So credit to the Storm for winning out there as well. Because the Aaru Scorpions, and I had said it initially in P's and B's, although they have good individual picks, when I see Chernobog, Raijin, Camazotz, Morgan Le Fay, I love all of them. It's just I did not like how that draft would look in the late game 5-on-5. Not that they really, Aaru Scorpions that is, got an opportunity to leverage the late game 5-on-5, considering how quickly the Storm had pulled ahead. But this time around, it's the Storm that win the day. And you know what? We've talked about Ratmilk, we've talked about GIobe, and we've done it a whole lot this week. Let's talk about Shiπigami for a moment. Those snipes from his Ram, starting off every fight by dropping a carry down about 10% HP, it's a good way to start your engagements. Of course Ratmilk's going to have the space to jump in if he's jumping in on people that are already dead.
And it's kind of an adaptation that we've seen from some of the pros up in the SPL, and now it's starting to trickle down the rest of the way, which is, you know, typically used to see Rom Snipe, you go for those last couple of shots to just try and guarantee those kills, but we started to see that adaptation from ADCs now, just saying, okay, well, I'm Rom, my ult does a lot of damage, I'm really good at hitting my buttons and hitting these snipes, so what if we just start a fight like that? And it makes it so much easier for maybe GIobe to go for a finishing kill, or for Ratmilk to try and jump into the back line here. So for the Xibalba Storm, looks great for them. Unfortunate for Geno, not really able to get too much done team fight wise on the Charon, but does put out some of the top damage on his team there, sitting 12,000. The only one above him was RelentlessOne out of that solo lane. So trying to get things done, the Charon, I saw many a times him landing 2, 3-man ultimates, multi-man silences, but there just wasn't the team fight presence, as you highlighted, really from the Aaru Scorpions to follow off of some of those engagements.
Yeah, so when I see Charon compositions, I think, okay, we're going to get a 5-man dive draft. That's the strategy. Everybody's going to be running it down. He's lacking in CC, but it doesn't matter if he's in the front with you, blocking the auto attacks, blocking the abilities, and being a part of that damage output. But the draft didn't exactly have that. So often it's Geno off in the back line on his own doing a lot of damage and then peeling himself back like, oh, I've dropped low. I'm at 20, 30%. I got to start to reset. And he's like, oh, my back line's already dead back here. Things aren't looking so good. So I think great individual performance. It's cohesion I'm looking for in this next draft.
We'll see if we can get a little bit of that here from the Aaru Scorpions. Picks and bans for game number 3 now underway between the Scorpions and the Storm. Remember, this is a fresh group now, so a loss here is not the end of the road for either two teams. It means a drop down into the losers bracket, and then you have to wait who your opponent's going to be at the result of the next set. They will end up playing. Winner means that they are now only 1 set away from being able to qualify to the SWC Group Stage in January. Immediately, though, through the bans, you can see some of the priority towards those mages again. Opwash on one side, Poseidon, Kukulkan on the other. Maybe a wise ban from the Scorpions, with just how comfortable GIobe has been getting. But you take one long-range snipe burst mage, and you just trade that out for another one. Now we're going to have Thoth and Thor as a combination for the Storm.
And let that be an example of just how much emphasis the Storm puts on making sure that Ratmilk and GIobe are comfortable with their picks, grabbing those top 2 overall when there are value picks like Raijin and Chernobog still on the table. Very scary top 3 for the Aaru Scorpions. That's not to say that the Storm haven't got the potential to really round out this draft well, but if we're looking at purely tier list picks, Scorpions coming out ahead in the first phase.
So Afro, Raijin, Chernobog, opposite side for the Storm. Already talked about the Thor and the Thoth. Now he tosses this Ganesh back into the mixer. So you have some backline, you've got some peel, ways to kind of keep these annoying divers on the side of the Aaru Scorpions. Should they draft a couple extra of those, really kind of keep them locked down. If you have this Ganesh, immediately you already fly right through the panning face. It's Agni and Baba Yaga banned away by the Storm. Once again, Storm will go back to the Ram, so a Ram Ganesh lane again. Opposite side, though, you do see the Achilles ban, which maybe led to believe that not quite full. I mean, when we see the Achilles before, it was kind of in that response to Khepri, so maybe a little strange to see the Khepri ban this time, but maybe just fearing that Xibalba Storm do have a strong Khepri on their side with Tegveer.
And so, it will be Kukulkan potentially to round out the draft here. This is something we've seen a few times so far this weekend. Hasn't exactly made me a believer in Kukulkan for performances we've seen so far, but still does have decent potential to bully out his lane, and does have some of that anti-heal inherent to the kit to deal with Aphrodite on the other side, as well as the 9 turns blessing from Erlang Shen. So slight potential there. Seems to me more so this Kukulkan is just there to fill a standard warrior role. I need someone creating space. I need someone separating my back line from their front line so that my Thoth can free cast, so that my Ram can land safely after the Asher Barrage. And Kukulkan does fit that role pretty well.
As we will have the Warrior v Warrior in the solo once more with that Sun Wukong drafted in. It seems like the mages are falling out just a little bit. We'll have to see which of these two teams moves into the winner's bracket, who drops down to the loser bracket. We'll find out in game number 3 as we take it over to the casters.
Best of 3 becomes best of 1, Spooky. We make it all the way here. Glad to be here on this journey with me, because I'm glad to be here with you on this journey. Xibalba Storm, answer back game number 2. It was 27 minutes. Do you think we're in for a long game here? Because I'm looking at this comp and going, Afro just slows the whole game down, so we might be in for a long one.
Oh, do I get to answer this question? You asked me if I was happy to be here. I didn't get to answer that yet.
I could see it in your eyes. We've done this long enough. I know how you're feeling, okay?
What was my answer?
By the way, your answer, your answer now is God's. I wish I was with anyone else, but
no, but
you're stuck with me for now.
I do think you've kind of hit the nail on the head here. This switch up from Geno to this Aphrodite tells me they're looking to play long and safe. RelentlessOne already very low. Has to be careful against this Kukulkan. So already a couple things to talk about here, Blur. I want to focus on your question first, though. This Afro really highlights the successes of game number 1 for the Scorpions. Is when they could take some fights, disengage, hunker down, and just kind of heal off any of the damage that the Storm was able to do to them. That's what this Aphrodite brings back here. You've got the Undying Love for immunity to counteract some of this dive. So you can avoid entirely the final judgment coming out from GIobe, or you can completely immune the engagement from Ratmilk. Plenty of options there. I really like this switch up. Over there on the right side is the other thing that we kind of want to talk about a little bit. It's basically the safety warrior versus the bully warrior. Most times, Kukulkan's going to win that levels 1 through 3. Once we hit level 5, RelentlessOne on the Sun Wukong really doesn't have much to be worried about in that lane, and he will just be able to play a little bit further back, clear the wave with the Jingu Bang, and not really interact with Kukulkan whatsoever. What I'd like to see
Look at this.
is some potential rotations coming out from Tegveer as a result of that, but Migiiiiii's gonna get here first.
Blink forward, he's in the new form, but it's not going to matter. Now Ratmilk has to make the rotation. RelentlessOne is caught by the wall. But the damage output there, Migiiiiii steps up to threaten anyone who dare try and press up forward. So RelentlessOne gets to live on that one. But uncharacteristically, it was almost a switch up between these junglers. Migiiiiiii, the first making rotations over this way. And now Tegveer gets to rotate back on in. Ratmilk puts a little bit of damage into the back end of Migiiiiiii, but it's not going to be too much. Both warriors now rotating back in, and it's a big old slap fight here in the second duo lane.
And I love solo lane. I love fighting and seeing my damage numbers go up and having them not impact anything at the end of the game. This is my
It's
favorite
fun,
part.
okay?
Wait, Globe's here too,
fun.
though.
He is. The evade and punish is off the mark. The hieroglyphic assault.
Oh,
Might do a
ow.
fair bit, and they're going to put on a show. Tegveer transforms and answers first blood. And now RelentlessOne is trying to fight Globe. This is not a fight that I
Ratmilk?
think I want. Evade and punish distance is caught. Ratmilk's low on mana, and Globe might just be able to get back to the safety. Jingle bang. There's
Ouch.
half the health remaining. There's still more, and now Tegveer returns back on in. Like you said, this is the bully god, and they're certainly trying to bully.
And that Jingu Bang right there is exactly why Ratmilk and Globe didn't try to turn and fight into RelentlessOne on that one. Had they taken any more damage, that's probably Globe going down there. If they fought together, that's probably a double kill for RelentlessOne. Good on them to know their limits. Geno taking a bunch of damage, answering it back though is GuyJ. This dual lane, Blur, has been a hot point for most of the game, for most of the set. Now Migiiiiiii in the area as well, looking potentially for a purple buff that's not going to be there. Might just look for the gank with GuyJ.
There's the pin, grabs both of them, but can't get the ult off sooner. So Shi'igami gets through. Hapn there, absolutely perfect. Cool, calm, and collected. Silenced out. It's a good look for them. Bayroneri taking a lot of damage here. And the devs mention it. You take Globe off of one of these long-range snipe, high-damage mages, and he ends up on another one. There's a different story, though, for Globe. Comes online just a little bit later, it seems.
Yeah, the clear isn't quite as, you know, shoot and forget as Kukulkan is. You do have to actually stand there and make sure the entire wave dies. Globe will need...
Pain.
I know. Like, imagine having to play the game like everyone else. What a sham this god is.
Well, don't let that god hear you, because the final judgment still hit pretty damn hard. In fact, everything certainly
from
does.
across the other side of the world too. So please don't tell him I said anything. No, he's got his Book of Thoth online now though, so these stacks can be coming online. Clear's going to be very easy for Globe here. I mean, wave's already pretty much dead. All he did was use hieroglyphic assault, and they go down. That's pretty much what you're looking at for the rest of the game here. Still, it's been a slower start from Xibalba Storm, which I don't really like. I understand they have a little bit more scaling, but Ratmilk up in the sky.
Oh, but doesn't have the range to follow through. Migiiiiiii avoids out the rest of the damage. This is all over a buff. Now gets the 9 turns blessing through, but Globe's made the first rotation again, and now trotting on through. Migiiiiiii gets taken down. Ratmilk will answer that one. It's an up down from RelentlessOne. They're looking for Ratmilk, but Globe is still here, and Globe just pelts back more damage. It's a full disengage now. Geno will take the place, as does Bayroneri. Globe, at this point, I'm just changing their name to Globetrotter because they have been out-rotating everyone.
Just today, change his name to Global at this rate. He is across the map. It feels like he's just another Thor. RelentlessOne escapes just by the skin of his teeth on that one. Tegveer, probably not satisfied seeing him walk away, but he gets the TKO, so you're still getting something out of that. Teleport is available, can be used. Now you have to do it all over again. Xibalba Storm, up 2 kills. Not a ton of gold, still just 1,000. But this has been the trend they've been setting, Blur. They've consistently been pushing themselves into early leads, finding small gold advantages, and pushing those further and further as the game goes on. I don't think the Scorpions are in a position where they can bend quite as much as they did in game number 2. This is the last one, their last shot, staying in this bracket here. They have to make sure they're answering when the Storm is making calls. Otherwise, they'll end up giving up a little too much. And we saw what happened last time.
We did, and that actually brings me onto a nice point here. Geno's actually rotated out. For the last 2 games, we've seen Hapn, Shippigami, Geno, and GuyJ sit in the duo lane like it's the only lane that exists, like they're playing their own mini assault version, or joust the two of us. But this game,
Love that mode.
Geno straight on. It's a good mode. I like it as well. But Bayroneri this time seems to be where Geno's spending a lot of time. And it kind of makes a lot of sense. We mentioned in game 1 how it's the Bayroneri who has to keep living. They're the one who has to have so much peel. They're the one who's difficult to get. Because Ratmilk gets blinked on by migiiiiii here. Whether or not anything else comes of it, we'll have to find out. Ratmilk goes up into the sky, but I'm not sure he wants to land. And it's a disengage out, even on landing there, because GuyJ was coming through as well. My point was, at this point, it's Bayroneri who needs to live, and Geno's trying to facilitate it.
It's Bayroneri that needs to live for Scorpions, and quite frankly, it's GIobe that needs to die as well if you're looking to do any objectives around here. You can posture all you like, but so long as GIobe is on the map, I don't foresee the Scorpions making any big plays in fear of the final judgment. However, taking a look over that left side, there's still some grouping.
Just a little bit. Shippigami back on this Ram. He's already done a lot of damage. Going back towards the build with the Asi, so wanted to fight a little bit earlier now. As Miggy tries to force a fight to happen. This is all for the gold buff, and it will potentially go down. GuyJ looking to answer back a little bit, but it's very tentative poke right now.
Yeah, so far, it's just Scorpions pressuring out the duo lane, making sure they cannot step up. Man, it's just these constant little pokes and prods. They're not full-on confrontations, Blur. It's both sides, largely the Scorpions, kind of just picking up a stick and seeing if they can wake the bear up, or maybe how deep of a sleep it's in so far. The Storm hasn't bit back just yet. They've been flinching away so far. They are scaling up. Eyes are on GIobe. Eyes are on Shippigami. Might be a little bit behind right now. He's gone back to that Aussie build, right? He's not going for those dev gloves anymore. I would expect a little bit more aggression to be coming out of this ROM fairly soon here, just to take advantage of that. Might be looking to finish up the Executioner first, have a little bit more shred, make your duels a little bit easier for yourself. But I would expect some Soraks to start flying off of this ROM.
We may very well see that. I'm keeping an eye on Miggy as well. Every time we've seen this in the mid or in the jungle, it's always been this somewhat tanky absolution and hold that a sec. Miggy gets a bit aggressive on GIobe, but it doesn't matter. The Elwood now will force the beads out as Bayroneri comes in. But it's always been this sort of second item shoguns and then like a kin size and then there's an absolution and it's kind of this weird tanky build thing. This time though, Miggy's saying, nah, screw that. I want to do damage. I'm the jungler. I should do damage.
I mean, after the last game where he got to do 0 damage the entire time, I can't say I blame him. And the fact is, because he wasn't able to do damage, his team didn't have any good divers, so they couldn't push the Storm away from anything. It's a change that had to be made, and I'm glad he does it. The damage from this Erlang so far has been good. Might be looking even better here as Hapn has to drop the darn pillars.
My God, I'm surprised no one just tries to block off the dash there. Instead, everyone just looking to pump out damage. Hapn gets to walk away from this. GuyJ even goes in for an ultimate, but instead drops it off just to maybe use that for vision on anyone. Not 100% sure on that. This is slightly weird from the Scorpions. It doesn't feel quite as composed as the last game where they were okay taking some losses. Now they feel like they're the ones trying to be scrappy for a fight. Is this their game to lose late gamers? Hold that a sec. The 1v1 from Hunters goes awry. But Miggy comes on through. Ratmilk's also coming over. The junglers want a piece of the action.
They're here. Ratmilk dunks down. Miggy's the target.
Shinigami, though, getting low, a bit too low. Shell comes through. Everyone's trying to peel. GuyJ isn't able to find it. The knockup is so good. GuyJ finally answers back in a 1-for-1, but it's Miggy for Shinigami right now. Final Judgment comes on through. Everything's going down because RelentlessOne is here as well from around the backside. Gets up into the cloud somersault. And now the Aaru Scorpions are trying desperately to keep the fight going under the tier 1 tower. But GIobe is still alive. And like you said, GIobe needs to die in order for these fights to go well. It's a 3-for-1 in favor of the Aaru Scorpions, though, and they've finally shaken off the nerves. They are here, and they are answering back, because GIobe might still be in trouble. Bayroneri gets so low, and he's punished! He evades, and then he punishes! That's exactly what that ability does, and that's exactly what we just saw.
Fun fact, that makes it a 3-for-3, because Mickey did die at the start of that, got caught, and Shinigami was credited with the kill to that one.
You're right.
They just overstay. They try to catch GIobe, but you can't catch that man. He is just too good on this Thoth, and Ratmilk is engaging on Mickey.
He is. My goodness. This is the thing, is this is Xibalba Storm's playstyle. They want these early scrappy fights. They love this kind of playstyle. It's just so strange to see the Aaru Scorpions leading that kind of a dance.
Oh yeah.
Because it's what Xibalba Storm have done every single game.
You asked a question before all that. They fought for so long, Mickey respawned, and I forgot you even had a question.
Wow, I'm glad to see I mean that much to you.
But to go back to that, let's circle back to that right now for you, Blair. I honestly feel like the Scorpions have a better late game composition on their core 3. When you look at mid and the dual lane, those scale better into the late game. I'm not saying by any stretch of the word that Xibalba Storm has a bad late game, but I think Undying Love in the late game alongside Taiko Drums is just an incredibly powerful combination of ultimates that makes it very difficult for the Storm to execute what they want to do. GIobe is going to scale up and do crazy amounts of damage. Final Judgment will start one-shotting people. Undying Love can just counter that and say, no, you don't get to do that damage. And frankly, I think that's more valuable. But then Scorpions have the ability to back off and re-engage with the healing. Storm recognize that. Find themselves a window, take the Gold Fury, trade it out. They're okay with that trade. Fury is just worth a little bit more. Sure, you're going to miss out on the Runic Bomb, and you are probably going to lose a Tier 1 tower here. I expect the bomb to be used. GIobe in danger.
GIobe is in a lot of trouble there. They taunted back in slightly. And they used that Pyro Bomb very early. And they'll take down that Tier 1 tower to keep the aggression going.
I like that.
RelentlessOne hounded out. Maybe getting pincered a little bit here, but does still have the ultimate available to them if they absolutely need it. And they may very well do so, because it's gone from 1 or 2 members of Pope to a lot of damage going their way. Now they're up in the sky on the somersault cloud, but I don't think they're going to be up there much longer. In fact, actually, they will Bird of Note away.
Oh, come on,
be falling here, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Ratmilk finally answers that one back with a little bit of AoE damage. All in all, it's a one-man for Pyromancer, trade out Gold Fury, but then get Tier 1. We're not quite seeing Haymaker for Haymaker yet, but both of these two teams are butting heads.
This has absolutely gone in favor of the Scorpions. Sure, they get the smaller objective, but then they take 2 Tier 1 towers immediately afterwards and only lose out on RelentlessOne, who pretty much gave Xibalba Storm the runaround on that one. They just bought themselves so much time for GuyJ to step forward on that left side, burn that tower down, put some more gold in their pockets. Doesn't even it up entirely. It was an excellent play from the Scorpions to finally get some answers back on the board. It's been a lot of scrapping, a lot of searching. They've come up with very little for all the work they put into trying to isolate Storm and find these kills. You've seen them put tons of pressure onto GIobe. He's 2-0-3, so that shows how much they've gotten for their efforts on that one. And it's hard to say they're playing it poorly, because they are focusing the right person, right? GIobe is a massive problem. It's just that they aren't killing him fast enough to then make their work worth the effort. Now let's head to the 17-minute mark. Fire Giant will soon become a question. Oni Fury will be the next one spawning. It's about halfway through its cycle now. I expect to see these two teams start to group up once again. I'd like to see it around the Oni Fury before the fire here.
We'll have to keep an eye on whether the teams go for that. And one thing I did note, Globe securing the Gold Fury there. Just shy of like 900 damage this early on with Final Judgment, as Geno being costed a little bit, but doesn't take too much damage thanks to being the support.
Play Nafro, he deserves it.
All right, okay, we can debate that one in a little bit. Again, I feel like I'm sensing some hostilities here, similar to the Camazotz ult. But at this point, my question then is does Geno have to be the target that gets looked at? If Bayroneri is so safe with the Undying Love and outputs too much damage, does Geno have to be the one who's focused out? Like, is it a case of Bayroneri goes, if she dies, I die?
Man, wouldn't it be crazy if this was like, if this was pre-recorded and someone just asked you to say that particular line to prove it wasn't?
Don't pull that out.
That would like ruin our entire shtick. I really hope that doesn't get out.
I know, that would suck. But answer the question.
It's really hard to say just focus the Aphrodite, because she's such a difficult target to kill, because the Undying Love does apply to her as well. But it is a case very similar to like Khepri, which we saw earlier. If you know that ultimate is available, and it's a get out of jail free card, you have to try to force it however way you can. If you can find Geno isolated, great. You definitely try to kill him. The problem is, this Afro is almost never going to be isolated. So if you're trying to kill Geno, whoever he's linked onto is just going to start free casting damage at you. And they're just the easier target to kill at that point. So you have to turn around, try to burst them down. And now you've used cooldowns just to eat an Undying Love. What you have to do is you have to be able to force that out and then disengage from the fight. Try to pressure either the linked target or Geno himself, get him to press the button, and then pull off and look for the re-engage. Otherwise, you're just going to take a losing fight because all of your cooldowns have been used, and you've no more buttons to press.
Yeah, I think the last time we saw something like this, it was, I believe it was Ice Silence who was looking at it. And it just gets so late into the game where the Aphrodite health bar is too difficult to chew through. I think there was Sunders involved in that game as well to try and burst the Aphrodite down. We don't see that this game.
Those here.
Instead, it's just going to have to be the old-fashioned way of a lot of damage and a lot of anti-heal, which thankfully now, with the Contagions picked up and the Brawler's Beatstick and the Divine Ruin, I think it's safe to say that they almost have enough to deal with the Aphrodite.
Can you ever have enough anti-heal?
No.
It feels like the answer is, yeah, just no. Unless they are healing negative amount. I want to see Geno taking damage when he presses the Lovebirds. That's how much anti-heal I want to apply, and that's just unfortunately not possible. Storm will take the first step forward, though. They're going to group around this Oni Fury, negative healing or not.
And RelentlessOne isn't involved in this, but Tegveer isn't exactly close by either. Ratmilk goes up into the ult, Xibalba Storm get the Oni Fury, and this is the question, is this the fight or not? The answer is yes it is, but it's Aaru Scorpions who try and start this one. Migiiiiii looping around the back, RelentlessOne's going on in, and Bayroneri gets the shutdown Globe. That is a huge start to this engagement. GuyJ finds Shiπigami as well. Aaru Scorpions may not get the Fury, but they dictate the fight, and they say here and now, this is our set.
Hey, you know what changed in that fight versus all the other ones beforehand, Blur?
Migiiiiii?
They killed Globe. Globe goes down, and almost all the fight back is just gone. Granted, they killed Shiπigami at the same time. If you have no backline, it's very hard to fight back into a team that still has all their damage dealers. This opens up a huge window for the Scorpions now. Globe and Shiπigami still down, nowhere near getting this Fire Giant on time.
They're not. The secure isn't great for the Aaru Scorpions, but look at the Xibalba Storm. No member really threatens this. Ratmilk at best is the person who could go in, but it's just a fight on to happen at this point. Bayroneri's not even fighting it. Tegveer goes on in around the back. Spear Mortal Pain is up. And now the knockup could be an important factor here. Globe looking to answer on through. Xibalba Storm stealing it away because Globe shows up big for the team. Ratmilk causing so much trouble. It's a runic bomb that grabs it. Shiπigami gets themselves a double kill. And Xibalba Storm say, you think? No luck. The Undying Love is Relentless One falls, and now it's all gone Pete Tongue. Aaru Scorpions trying to get away, but it's a double kill for Shinigami. They lose 2, but get 3, and more importantly, they get that Fire Giant.
What a play from the Storm. They're still looking for one more. Miggy's in the area. He should be able to get out without too much trouble there. That's a dangerous place to reset. I don't know about that one. What a play from Hapn. He dashed in, immediately got caught by the Fire Giant, knocked up Mickey! Why are you behind that wall?
You can't lazy back there. I'll call a spade, call an Erlang Shen, and call a kill. Ratmilk gets that one. And like you said, you just can't be there. He tried to start back in under the tier 1, and then tried to start back in at the back of tier 2, and now ends up falling because of it. Xibalba Storm, they just get everything they want there.
You know, Blur, we'll talk about that in a second. I gotta circle back to something you said. Did you say it goes pink tongue?
Peak tongue.
What does that mean?
It went a bit skew-if, all right? Things
What does that mean?
All right. So imagine you put a picture up and it's slightly slanted, but it's not. It's like it goes from like a rectangle to a trapezium slant. It's gone a bit like Pete Tongue. It's skew-if.
Okay. Now I'm putting you on pause. You just used the word trapezium. You're done here.
Yeah.
I'm looking back at the game after that one. Good lord. 3 strong with the Fire Giant, unenhanced. So Scorpions have that going for them. The fact of the matter is, Storm shouldn't even have this Fire Giant. This was the Scorpions to secure, and they did. They lost it to a Runic Bomb. It's 1,000 damage. It's not an insignificant amount, but it does mean they need to do better on zoning. They had their pieces in place, and they kind of just let Hapn walk past it all. Sure, he ends up dashing to the Fire Giant knockup, and sure, they kill him afterwards, but as long as he drops that bomb beforehand, it's all worth it for the Storm. And they swung this game right back in their favor. Took any momentum the Scorpions thought they might have had after that fight. Now they're going to start looking to group up. Left side seems to be the play. The Primal Fury coming up relatively soon. I expect the Storm just to be looking to extend their lead and solidify the advantage that they have. So GIobe has to be careful. He's got the Goon Squad looking for him.
He does, and no one else in Xibalba Storm has noticed. I think GIobe has recognized there's a problem. GuyJ goes on in on them, tries to spring the trap as everyone's diving in onto GIobe, but GIobe gets to sit back to the safety of the team. Relentless One goes on through. Off the mark is Ratmilk with the ult. Uncharacteristic for them, but now the snipes might come on out, and it's GuyJ who takes half his health in damage, and GIobe lives, which means Bayroneri has to die. GuyJ falls as well, and NotGeno left up in the air on their own. There's a Relentless One now being hounded down again. We've said that so many times this set, Spooky. Titans are here, and honestly, if it was any closer, Xibalba Storm would be thinking that this was just game.
Yeah, this is a devastating lost team fight for the Aaru Scorpions. They were looking to catch GIobe out, and it just doesn't happen. The fact that Storm
is it still game?
It might be. No way. Relentless One should be here with Geno.
Should be. Is it enough though? I don't know. Look at this. It's 5v2s in this situation, and this Titan just can't handle it. Xibalba Storm, they're looking not to punch up once. It wasn't just a fluke. They took down first seed. What's fourth seed to them? They'll take that in 3.
Absolutely nothing is what it is to them. Tegveer created so much space in that last fight. The entire Storm was broken up and shattered just by the front line. Ratmilk and Tegveer splitting it up, allowing GIobe and Shinigami both to just free cast on separate targets. The long range from this Thoth taking down Bayroneri despite the undying love trying to come through from NotGeno. And you know what? If you cannot kill Geno first, just separate him from the fight. Just push him away from his team so he can't give that healing out. What are they going to do at that point? Absolutely nothing. Storm, honestly, they're just stormed through it.
What an absolutely phenomenal story that the Xibalba Storm are going through here. That'll do it for us over on this side of things. We've still got JMac and Myth to break down this set.
That's right, it's the Xibalba Storm on top of this set with a 2-1 win over the Aaru Scorpions. And we've said their name quite a few times over this set, over the course of this weekend. But once again, GIobe and Ratmilk
you switched
once
the
again
order this time.
popping off. But also do have to throw Shinigami's name in the mix for the carry here on. May not put the highest amount of damage on the ROM, but the snipes are on point throughout the early game to help secure the kills, to help start these team fights we start getting a little bit later in. And the space creation that these frontliners, that Tegveer and Hapn were able to provide for these carries to be able to pop off like they did. This Xibalba Storm team came in here as the 6th seed SCC team. Right now, they're looking like #1.
Yeah, they're looking really good. And if anyone wants any chance at beating them, I think it does begin with putting a stopper to Ratmilk and GIobe. Hate that Ratmilk is good enough that I have to keep saying his name. That is absolutely ridiculous. But his performances this weekend have been ridiculous as well. Just top to bottom, things look really good here. The Xibalba Storm clearly keep their focus throughout this entire set. I would say there were a few too many micro misplays from the Aaru Scorpions. Felt like they lost a little bit of focus once that early game started to go poorly for them. Maybe a few lazy backs here or there, some missed abilities, but at the end of the day, it's the Xibalba Storm who just play a bit better this time around. And you're right, we have not given enough credit to Tegveer. We haven't given enough credit to Hapn. Those two have been very consistent in this set and in this weekend as well, just creating the space needed. I really liked the peel that we saw from Hapn in this game in particular. Felt like he was always exactly where GIobe needed him to be. He was always exactly where Shinigami needed him to be, and was able to deliver good placement of the ultimates, was really lining up a lot of those dashes very well. It's not easy to set up that many kills on Ganesha. He's single target, but makes it look easy on the Storm. Just good team play, top to bottom. The Aaru Scorpions couldn't keep up.
Something about Ganesha, I don't know. It feels like there was somebody who told me something about how good this god was. It was a Roar, week 1 of this
Maxwell
year in
Jackson.
SPL.
Oh,
Maxwell
okay.
Jackson walked up to me and said, "It's the year of the elephant." I looked at him and said,
It's the year of the water rabbit. All
"Okay,
right.
well, we'll see how well the Ganesh does." He plays it a couple times at SPL, starts popping off with it. By the time we hit mid-year, Ganesh is the talk of the town. He's the #1 go-to. And then it felt like he kind of fell off a little bit during the second phase of the year, as we start kind of getting to the latter half of things. But now seeing it come back out once again, Happen's made this god look really good over the course of this set, over any of the matchups that he's been able to get it. I think Aurora might have just been right. This has been the year of the elephant for Ganesh. He has really just been a staple support for a lot of these players.
Has been. Seems like Ganesha and Khepri kind of at the top of the barrel right now, but looks really good. You got to be competent with it to make it work and happen exactly that. Shinigami looks good, 4-2-4, 3-1-8 for Ratmilk, and a 4-1 for GIobe out of the mid lane. I mean, when you got slash lines like that, it tends to tell a story on its own.
I mean, when your jungler's getting 4 or 5 kills a game, when your mid laner's getting the same number, and even when your carry's able to put out some pretty good numbers itself, it's pretty hard to knock down a team like this. So now it's the Xibalba Storm again, who came into this event as the bottom-seeded SCC team, are now the team to beat, sitting as your first team up into the winner's bracket, and are now 1 set away from qualifying to the SWC group stage in January. You can take a look here for the Xibalba Storm just to kind of see their remaining path out. They await the winner of the Callan Wardens and the Athenian Sages as our final matchup of today. Loser of that one has to go down and play the Aaru Scorpions for elimination match. So loser of that bottom seed one over there on match 13 with the Aaru Scorpions. That match, loser goes home, winner moves on for one last chance to qualify up to the SWC group stage. Don't be an elimination today. As mentioned, Wardens and Sages will be our next match coming up here in just a few minutes. And one you should definitely be keeping your eyes on. I think Callan Wardens kind of came into this one similar position to some of the other SCC teams, with a lot of roster changes that happened throughout the phase. Haven't really been able to figure out their entire footing. I think they've been able to solidify some form of playstyle to fight up here against the Athenian Sages, who have probably dealt with some of the most roster changes out of all of the SCC teams. So let's see which those two teams come out on top, which one can make it up to the winner's bracket. Before we can do that, we'll take it to a quick break. We'll come back with our 4th set.
Just take a look at yourself. Do you really think it's gonna help if you always fighting yourself, trying to forget how you felt? Just take a look at yourself. Can't even be your own friend, cause you're way too stuck in your head. How do you think it's gonna end? Nothing that day